This is Sky Sports.
If the opening race of the IndyCar season was action-packed, last time out at St. Petersburg provided even more fireworks.
Oh, and Dario Franchitti has been turned around. Well, the guys are getting very racy very early. Oh no, we've got a crash. Takuma Sato. Here comes Conway looking as well. Matos hangs on, and then there's contact. On board with Dan Weldon. He's right behind these two. Oh!
Once again, it was Will Power who picked his way through the chaos to make it 2 out of 2 in 2010. And now the series hits the picturesque Barber Motorsports Park, where the Australian was fastest in pre-season testing. Can anyone pull the plug on Power? Round 3 of the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series comes from the impressive Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham. We're live for the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. Hello everyone, Power is the name on everyone's lips. Today the Australian goes for a record 3 wins from the first 3 races of the year. And as he starts from pole at the hard-to-pass Barber, the betting is most definitely short. Here to analyse the odds are race driver Johnny Molam and long-time US Race Series punter Christopher Tate. Evening, gentlemen. Well, Christopher, Barber Motorsports Park, first time on the calendar. It's looking pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's really nice. And they've got a good crowd, too, which is terrific. It's a sort of Alton Park of Dixieland, you know. It's right in the heart of the Deep South, built by Mr. Barber with all the money he made from his dairy business. And Grand Am Sports Car's been there 5 times now, 6 times. First time out for IndyCar. Great facility.
And good for a man like you, of course, that appreciates a bit of art, because all around here is quite expensive-looking art in the woods, in the trees. And, of course, they've got that great motorsports museum that's there as well, and a big crowd for this one.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Barber started off with this great collection of motorbikes and cars, and he raced a bit himself and then decided to get involved. It's a fantastic facility, great views for the punters.
Well, that's all the cultural bits out of the way, Johnny. So
I'm glad you talked to him about that, yeah.
But of course, the thing to talk about at the moment is Will Power at Barber. He started his season off particularly well, didn't he, with the fastest time out in a very, very cold Barber back then. I didn't believe Alabama could be quite so cold at that time of the year.
I think you'll find that he's been focused from the get-go. We talked about it a little bit at the opening race. We talked about it again at St. Pete. He knows this is his opportunity, a golden opportunity to grab it and just run with it, and he's really done that. You can see there, he's just so serious and so focused all the time, and for 2 out of 2, even he couldn't have dreamed of a start like that. Can he make it 3 out of 3?
Well, of course, he might be the man that's going so well as it is at the moment around Barber Motorsports Park, and he is, believe me, but I'm going to preempt our grid for a moment, because Mike Conway, Christopher, has had a fantastic time, hasn't he, out there at the moment?
Best ever for that young Brit, and after his win in GP2 a few years back, he's had a difficult time at the beginning of his time in IndyCar. It's gone really well. He must be delighted to be on the front row. Great effort all round.
But not quite as delighted, I suppose, as Will Power at the moment. 2 out of 2 so far in the series. He won, of course, at Sao Paulo first time out, courtesy of his teammate Ryan Briscoe going into the barrier late stages. But Johnny, here at St. Pete, I mean, EJ Viso moved out of the way, but you reckon he would have took it anyway? I
think he looked a little bit quicker on the straights, to be honest, than Viso, but it was heartbreak. We mentioned it at the time, but Will Power, I think, probably would have got by him, similar to what he did to Ryan Hunter-Reay in the first race of the year.
And of course, when he was doing that with his oversuit, I thought it was because he was hot. I think really he was thanking Verizon, don't you? So there you go. That was my mistake at the time. So 2 races gone, and this is how the standings look. Will Power leads the way with a 100% record. He's 44 points ahead of 3 drivers, tied on 59 points. Ryan Hunter-Reay, reigning champion Dario Franchitti, and fellow Brit Justin Wilson. Rafa Matos is a further 3 points back in 5th with Elio Castroneves, Ryan Briscoe and Vita Mira next up. Dan Weldon's dramatic suspension failure in St. Pete meant no points, and he's 9th, just 1 point ahead of Danica Patrick. Last year's championship runner-up Scott Dixon is 63 points behind Power, and tied with Tony Kanaan and Alex Tagliani on 40 points. Mike Conway slipped to 14th after his St. Petersburg crash, and sitting right at the bottom of the table are the 2 Japanese drivers Hideki Muto and Takuma Sato. As the standings confirm, Rafa Matos has made a great start to the season, and maybe one of the reasons is the influence of IndyCar legend Gilles de Ferran. He bought into the Luxo Dragon racing team at the start of the season, and I caught up with him at the Barber test in February and found him to be very positive about IndyCar's future.
Absolutely, I think IndyCar is going through a good phase right now. I mean, the two series have just merged, so now there's only one IndyCar series in the US. You know, we have a new series sponsor in IZOD, which I think is investing a lot. Well, I know is investing a lot in marketing and promotion of the series. You know, the grids are still full. I think despite the economic pressures that we're all feeling around the globe, and there's a lot of good things going.
Had a long conversation yesterday with Elio. He misses you, but how much do you miss the driving?
I tell you, Elio, I miss Elio too. Frankly, we were teammates for many years, and he's one of my best friends to this day, and it's nice to be around Elio more often than I was in the past. So he should be glad that I'm not driving the car. Let me just put it this way.
He's tipped Rafa as being a bit of a dark horse this year for the series.
Did he do that because Rafa often shows up unshaven, or because he believes he's going to have a good year? Well, yeah, frankly, I hope he's right. Joking aside, I hope he's right. I think Rafa. I think a lot of people don't really know Rafa, but I mean, he comes to IndyCars with tremendous credentials. I mean, he had to struggle for many years to get to where he is, and the only reason that he got to where he is because he's won championships and races at every level. And frankly, that's what attracted him to Jay and Steve in the first place. And so he's a relative rookie. I mean, I guess he's a sophomore this year. And in a guy with tremendous potential. So yes, I hope Elio's right.
And you couldn't meet a nicer man than Gilles de Ferran, that's for sure. But talking about Rafa is one thing, but let's continue talking about Gilles de Ferran. I mean, he's into team ownership now, but particularly he was a very, very fast driver in his time. And I think one memory comes to mind for me, Christopher, and yourself, Indianapolis 2003.
It was an extraordinary comeback. If you remember, this was the win when he was just back from injury. And I mean, he was really not, honestly, in real condition to race. I mean, it was a tough race that year. Yes, he was beating his teammate, but when he got to the end, he was absolutely exhausted. Look at that. I mean, he wasn't just overcome by winning the Indy 500. He could barely get out of the car.
I think that's back pain as well, isn't it? As much as exhaustion.
He'd had a big accident. And of course, he'd been champion in Champ Car 2 years before, let's not forget. And he's just a great racer.
Well, of course, team ownership is his thing. The ALMS didn't quite work out the way perhaps he would have wanted it to.
I think that's a little bit unfair, actually, because he finished. They finished second to the Highcroft team last year in the P1 Championship, and obviously we raced against them all year. And himself and David Bradman in particular had some fantastic fights on the track, and it could have gone either way. So I would say he had a pretty successful year, bearing in mind that was really the only they came in halfway through the year previous and then finished off that season.
I think I meant money.
Oh, right, okay.
That thing that liquefies everything towards.
See, I forgot how mercenary you are.
Says the man who wants sponsorship money off me for the London Marathon. After February's pre-season test, the drivers reckon that passing would be an issue at Barber. So Will Power will be happy to have picked up his second peak pole of the year.
It's a good run, and we just got to keep executing in the races, and if we can get out there and win tomorrow, we'll go for it. But if we're in a position where we can't, we don't want to make a mistake. We're just going to get them points. You got to qualify at the front because you're not getting past anyone. It's really difficult. And I think the thing in the race tomorrow is there'll be people who'll go off strategy, and if the yellows fall at a bad time for us, we'll sort of be caught up there. But expect a big crowd and a good race.
We were lucky enough in the first session we didn't have to use any red tyres, so that's why we had the extra set at the end there. But the team did a good job. We were just working away at it over the last couple of days, trying to improve the car and just chipping away, and we seemed to sort of chip away as well through qualifying, and the car was up there. Didn't seem like we had to push too hard, so the main thing here is position on the track to start, because it's quite hard to overtake here. So P2 is good enough, and we can have a good race from here. Just got to keep it consistent, and we should have podium.
we made a lot of improvements on the second session yesterday to today. I felt comfortable in the car. We might get a little confused a little bit on the strategy. We did save our red tires towards the end, but we ended up using on the second session without taking advantage of it. So it was a little bit tough on that, but we feel we have a fast car. Will definitely is fast. The only way to beat him is change his last name.
So Will Power starts on pole for a second consecutive race. Britain's Mike Conway is alongside, making his first ever IndyCar front row start. Helio Castroneves is on row 2 with Marco Andretti making his second top 6 start of the year. Behind them comes Scott Dixon in his 35th consecutive top 10 start, and Takuma Sato after his best qualifying performance so far in IndyCars. Dario Franchitti is on row 4 alongside Tony Kanaan. Then it's Ryan Briscoe and EJ Vizo. Justin Wilson had some balance problems on the red compound tyres. He's alongside Mario Moraes. On row 7 it's rookie Simona Di Silvestro and Ryan Hunter-Ray, who wasn't happy with his Andretti Autosport car in qualifying. Graham Rahal and Brit rookie Alex Lloyd are on row 8, ahead of Hideki Muto and Rafael Matos. Row 10 has the struggling Danica Patrick alongside Brazilian Vita Mira. Behind them come Alex Tagliani and rookie Mario Ramoncini. Former champ Dan Weldon saw a spin wreck his qualifying and his way back on the 12th row alongside Milka Duno. And bringing up the rear, all on his own, is Belgian debutant Bertrand Baguette. I suppose Dan Weldon is the man we've got to talk about, gents, particularly with you, Johnny. I mean, Dan mucked up his qualifying and ends up with a lot of work to do on a track that's difficult to pass on.
Yeah, having said that, he's so far back that there's going to be a concertina effect going into the first couple of corners, so I would expect Dan to be doing a little bit of a do-or-die manoeuvre because he really has nothing to lose.
Well, these are live pictures. The boys are out on track at the moment. Turn 1, of course, is where Justin Wilson had an off in that February test when we were out there. We witnessed that. He went into what were motorcycle barriers, in other words, them big spongy things that we have out for the bike boys, which was quite fortunate because it didn't do much damage to his car. But conversely, Dario Franchitti, who went off in the next day, had a massive off, I think turn 12, and managed to find raw barriers, and he looked like a man that had a bang on the head when I spoke to him at the end of it all. There it is then, the grid's lined up across the top of your screen. It's time for us to join our colleagues at trackside for round 3 then of the IZOD IndyCar Series.
On the year, Danica Patrick has the 19th starting spot for today's run. Vitor Meira starting his 100th IZOD IndyCar Series event. And we have one more newcomer to the series. Belgian driver Bertrand Baguette, driving for Conquest Racing, will start in last. Onboard cameras will be carried today by Dan Weldon in the National Guard Panther racing machine. Alex Tagliani starts 21st. He finished 6th 2 weeks ago. Ryan Hunter-Ray has the outside 7th row starting spot. He was 2nd in Brazil and 11th at St. Petersburg. Tony Kanaan is the 2004 Series champion. Scott Dixon is looking for better results after an 18th place finish in St. Petersburg. And of course, Will Power going for 3 in a row. A 45-point lead in the point series. They of course had their choice of starting on the blacks or the reds. And there is the breakdown. 6 blacks, 6 sets of blacks, and 3 sets of alternate reds. We're not going to use the group rain tires this weekend, thank goodness.
That is certainly a great change, but look, there's no question the front of the field likes those softer, more grip alternate tires. We'll have to see if that strategy for Wilson pays. Great lineup coming to the start.
2 by 2 all the way back. Off of corner number 15. They come to the line. Charles Barkley is ready. And here's the green flag presented by Apex Brazil. Experience our energy. The turn 1 power has come in.
Just tucked in behind him, and everyone is clean through 1.
They go through here 2 by 2 in the back part of the field. Simona Silvestro is all running alongside Graham Rahal in the back. But up front it's a train down to 5. Jumped the start. He's going to have to drop back a couple of positions. See some dust kicked up.
So watch, Dixon's running in the 3rd spot right now. So when he gets on a straightaway, he's going to have to slow up and give those 2 spots. If not, they're going to bring him down pit road. So he needs to correct that himself.
And that's not a judgment call. The rule rules say that you must cross in your position at the start of the race, unlike a restart. So they just look at that telemetry. That's not a judgment call. Hey, you're out of position. Go back 2 spots.
Power through turns 11 and 12 with the rest of the field behind him. There's Silvestro and Rahal. Mike Conway is only about a car length behind here as they come onto the front stretch for the first time. And Will Power will lead lap 1 with Conway running in second position.
And there is Dixon.
Yep,
Right there. He let the one car out. That was a very good spot to do it. He didn't really lose any ground. He just pulled over, got out in front of him. Now he needs to do that same thing for Marco, and then he's good to go. Back to racing.
Elio Castroneves third.
The mental aspect of the driver, though, just going through that Dixon fight, going, no, I know it was a clean start. What are you talking about? But obviously communicating, he's all good to go right now.
And you want to get that job done early. You don't want to wait to let the people by. You want to get right back after it again and say, okay, my bad, I'm getting after it. See if I can take those positions back again.
Dixon's team name, Dario Franchitti, carrying blue colors again this week with Slav on the side box this time. Right behind Dario Franchitti is the Lotus-sponsored car of Takuma Sato. Beautiful green and yellow colors of Lotus.
This is the first racetrack that he got behind the wheel of an Indy car, and he did it on a very, very cold test day. One of the first things he did was spun off, not having tire warmers like they do in Formula 1, and it was a quick education for Takuma Sato.
But what he was really impressed with, inside of the first 15 laps he ever had in this car here, he was well up in the top 10 on the grid. So he adjusted and adapted pretty quickly to what an Indy car can do with the power there.
Sato running in 7th position. There's Franchitti in 6th. Once again, in the early stages at St. Petersburg. This is Ryan Hunter-Reay on board through turn 7.
And we have really had some fantastic on-board shots from Ryan as we've been leading up to the race here, because he has been doing everything he can in that cockpit to go as fast as possible. And that means he's been working that wheel. The history of the balance in the race car, so you see a little left, right, he's always saving that race car. Hopefully it's calmed down a little bit here for the 9th lap when he's running around this place.
Something new for you, our pointer showing in this case, maybe still up ahead.
And if you're getting used to identifying cars by helmet colors, you'll have to retrain yourself for Piso. He likes to repaint his helmet, certainly the same paint scheme and number 8 on the car, but we used to always say green helmet, that's Piso. No, he's repainted it, so be careful on that one.
Tony Kanaan runs in 8th position.
Big elevation right there coming up off of turn 4, across that rise. You can't see what's on the other side, but you're coming across there committed, hard on the gas. Jack?
Hey guys, as you watch the 7-Eleven car of Tony Kanaan, keep in mind that there are 20 overtake opportunities on these Honda engines. For Tony Kanaan, he's already used one of them. Now the duration is about 12 seconds, and there's a reset of about 10 seconds. But Kanaan, trying to work his way masterfully through the traffic, has already used one, as has Marco Andretti, and as has Justin Wilson.
3 of 90 laps have been completed here, with the lead being held right now by Will Power with about a 7/10 of a second advantage on Mike Conway. Elio Castroneves is 3rd, Marco Andretti 4th, Scott Dixon is 5th in the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama.
Under the Alabama sunshine, this is the inaugural IndyCar race at Barber Motorsports Park. Your commentators at trackside are Bob Jenkins, Yang Beekhouse, and of course Robbie Buell. Will Power is out front from pole position at the moment. Let's rejoin our colleagues.
Will Power has now led in his last 5 starts. He has a 1.3 second advantage on second place Mike Conway. There's second place Conway. Third place Elio Castroneves. Then Marco Andretti. And then we see Scott Dixon, who positions, and he had to give up 2. Here he is coming off of corner number 15.
Sure enough, when he crossed the line, that was P4, and that shows up on that timeline. And you can see going up the hill there, he may have caught Justin Wilson. We now know he used his overtake button on the start and picked up 2 positions on lap 1 on those black sidewall Firestones.
But really, when you go back and look at that, he made the pass on Elio, going into 1, and then where that timeline is, because it's, as you said, it's all done electronically. I'm not sure he was ahead of Elio and how it does trip it, so that may have been a little bit of a, a gray area call from the stores.
Dario Franchitti is about 7 seconds in 6th position.
Dario Franchitti, Edinburgh, Scotland, team target. Colin McRae said it best. You're here for a good time, not for a long time.
He says he is on the back of the helmet as well, Colin McRae. It's good words to live. Perfect saying for the back of the helmet.
That turn 7 that he just went through is a real tight right-hander, and you are going downhill. It seems to me like it's very much like a corkscrew for a second. Maybe not that dramatic, but it's a similar type of corner.
Yeah, and they're slowing down to that right-hander there. It's probably about 60 miles an hour. But when they come off that corner, they are full on the power all the way through 9, 10 until they get to a turn 11. So it really is a crucial corner how they come off.
Will Power leads. There he is. Mike Conway's hanging right in there. He's a little more than a second behind, but keeping him inside at least.
I think now, we're 8 laps into this. Now we want to kind of start seeing, we've talked about the Firestone tires and the reds, but the key thing is that when these red tires start going off, losing grip, and we'll get more back to that in a second.
This would not be a problem. The window has opened for you to take the opportunity. Robbie Floyd?
Guys, he told me he was going to be a pit strategy kind of race. Didn't qualify all that well. He did not test here. He's still getting used to this track. Complaining of understeer. He's been working to find that balance. He's hoping this pit strategy will pay off. He comes out now, and either if you have a yellow flag late, or he's going to be hauling boots. Hey, if he comes out quick, he's going to be thinking about saving as much fuel as he can.
And that's what he would want if he makes an early pit stop. You say, if by chance there's a full course caution, I have pitted and no one else has, they all peel on the pit road, and you get a free pass to the front. Those are the kind of risks that you take when you're near the back. And again, the pit window opened at lap 6, so he will not have to do an extra stop. We expect 3 stops today. That would just be one of the 3 that came early.
He's got nobody in front of him right now, so as Robbie said, he's going to be hauling.
Elio Castroneves continues to run in 3rd place, about 5 seconds behind the leader. Elio has a 9th and a 4th in terms of finishing positions this year.
I had a great conversation with him this morning, and I asked him about the setups between Will Power himself and his teammate Ryan Briscoe. He said, we have access to all that data. But he said to me, you know what? Will is doing things different in the car. It's not just that he uses his left foot on the brake versus Elio uses right. It's the fact that he drives differently. Weldon also taking advantage of an early stop.
Yeah, a couple of cars in. Dan Weldon, the National Guard car in, and there's the Robin Seeley car, number 34, getting a big wing adjustment for Conquest Racing, and he's back out. Pit stops coming up lap 10.
And we're probably going to see a couple more stops all the way up to lap 12. Like what they're trying to do is they're trying to cycle through, get off sequence, and have clear track run, because you want to run as fast as you can around this racetrack. You don't want to get hung up with anybody in front of you. That's how you're going to gain advantage when you come in and out of pit road.
Looking at Will Power, just to put a period on the Castroneves story, was that he said, Jan, I've actually tried some different styles of driving here after putting the data on top. And Will Power's got something to that.
Down to Robbie Floyd, who's waiting for the Tony Kanaan stop.
TK pulls in. He's going to take off those reds and go back to the primary tires. He's been working on setup all week, doing something different than Marco Andretti. Now it's a Marco setup. He thinks he's fast, and that was a quick pit stop.
Anytime that you're not having to take a full load of fuel, it puts a lot of pressure on the tire changers. Typically, the tire changers can take 7-8 seconds. That's how long it takes to fill up with fuel. Not when you fit here early on at lap 12.
Elio you won't miss a thing because we have IndyCar non-stop. We have completed 10 of 90 laps, and once again, Will Power has a 1.1 second advantage on Conway with Castroneves, Andretti, and Dixon with 1 through 5.
Fast and furious action then at Barber Motorsports Park. Will Power on the power, no doubt about it. Johnny Molam here with Christopher Tate in the Sky Sports studio. And this race is going to be one of those where if they get a yellow, I'll be amazed. Oh, maybe we'll get one for a car that's stopped out in the course, Johnny.
Yeah, I do think that in terms of having accidents, because it's so fast, the drivers are being a little bit careful, and we see Takuma Sato coming to a halt. That will be a yellow, unfortunately.
Yes, it will be a yellow, so that's going to be very interesting as far as the tactics are concerned, because those guys that have already pitted have put themselves in perfect position. You've already said Canaan. Now, if you're wondering, that is the Lotus coloured car. We might have time to give a bit of a story about that, because Christopher's been doing his homework as far as that's concerned.
Yes, that's that is the same colours as being used in the Lotus Grand Prix for their return to motorsport in F1 level this year, but in fact that is the Lotus road car end, if you like. And they have good sales in the United States, and it's a great opportunity to link up with Sato's rookie year in IndyCar.
So there is no link then, as I might have speculated in our first programme, regarding Takuma to get back into Formula One?
Well, who knows what an ultimate game plan might be, but it's not exactly sharing technologies between the two. It's very much a different group of people.
So we've got a full course yellow out there now. That is important from a tactical
And I tell you who else has really been smart is Alex Tagliani.
Indeed.
Raced in Champ Car for many, many, many years, been out for a couple of years and really doing his own team. He got the strategy right.
And you pointed that out in the studio here, off air of course, that Tag made the call because it's his team.
Yep, and Michael Andretti made a good call, I think, to get Canaan in. So a lot going on here
I think Canaan's in good shape because he was definitely he was running 8th at the time when he pitted, so he was the fastest. He was definitely the only one of the front runners to actually pit.
I have to say that I'm still the hairs on the back of my hands and everything, I know I've got a lot of them, but are calming down after seeing those onboard shots. I mean, when you've got the sun and you've got a racetrack like this and onboard cameras on TK's car particularly, brilliant.
It actually, especially Ryan Hunter-Reay, for some reason I can see why he's not particularly happy with his setup. I mean, he was having to seriously work, and there's a quick corner, there's a lot of downforce in the car, and he was still getting sort of 10-15 degrees worth of opposite lock through some of the fast corners, as you see Takuma. You have to be very, very careful when you're being wheeled around like that with a rope like that, not to sort of lose a finger, I can tell you.
No real obvious problem, but the Lotus just stopped on course with Takuma Sato in the cockpit. The Homatro safety team is there. Maybe it's a throttle linkage problem or something of that nature. They're going to take it back into the paddock area and try to fix it and get it back out there, but it does bring about our first caution of the day, and it comes just after we saw some early pit stops.
And Jan, you can go more on this, but we are absolutely in that first window of pit box. So all those guys that have come in, like we just saw Weldon, if the rest of the field comes in right now because they think that's good, what a great move for those guys to come in, get their stop done prior to this. If
for any of that group that stopped, it's going to be a great bonus, but only if those in front of them now decide to take this opportunity to hit.
Well, the professional bull riders continue to kick up the dirt in Napa. PBR concludes tonight at 9 Eastern, right here on Versus. And the new CEO of the Indy Racing League, Randy Berard, of course, came to the professional bull riders, and we'll have an extensive interview with Randy, if not before, certainly at Indianapolis during the month of May, where, of course, we have extensive coverage of qualifying and the pre-race activity. Okay, let's see what happens here. And we see some cars stopping, including Mike Conway and Will Power.
There's Justin Wilson. Now look at this angle. They're coming down pit road, and that's all under green running, if you will, from the pit side. And you got a tight left-hander with that guardrail there.
So Castroneves stayed out. So did Andretti, Dixon. But these cars are all giving up a lot of spots.
Lindy.
Will Power pulls in right on his marks like several others. He started on the red alternates. He is taking the black tires now, filling up with fuel in the first stint. They said, great pace. Before Mike Conway. Power kept.
Oh, they're still tussling.
Oh, no, maybe not. There he goes.
But we need to get back to that line. We need to see where the pit outline was with regards to where Conway was and Power. And then that will
It will not be, of course, for the lead, but it will be for position.
Yeah, that is not a driver thing. That is going to be an electronic decision.
Yep.
Certainly, you can't fault Mike Conway for going for it.
Okay,
we'll get to the line first.
There it is. And I hate to tell you, Mike, darn it. But he raced him out hard.
Yeah, just in case.
Look at that. See the pull out there?
That is the advantage of being at pit out, being the championship point leader. He wasn't quite up to speed, but he got rolling and get across that line.
Sato's car being taken behind the wall for repairs. Hopefully he can get back out there.
So that's not a good thing. It wasn't just like a little electrical gremlin that they found something they fixed. There's something a little bit more there anytime you pull it back behind the wall.
Conway's still ahead of Will. Hasn't apparently been told yet to go back.
Here is something very interesting. Will Power now has not a clear view. There he's going to make the position line, but look ahead. There's a lot of race cars ahead of Will Power because they made a decision to pit. Castro Neves, his teammate, along with Marco Andretti, here is Scott Dixon. They've got clear sailing.
And I think the next thing we need to watch here, guys, and I started talking about is tire management. We've talked about sometimes how you can rarely build up these tires, and I think, Jack, you got more on that right now?
Well, actually, we're going to talk a little bit about how important it is to save the tires in a moment. First, I want to take you back to that pit stop between Will Power and the run off of pit road. When you take a look at the pit stop, you notice he's got the number 1 stall. It's 40 feet in length, but it's very, very narrow. Now, here comes Conway. Conway is in the high-speed lane. He's at 50 miles an hour. So how did Will Power get by him? It was real simple. He didn't have to launch and get out into the high-speed lane. See, he stayed on the inside, and that gave him the advantage, although his speed at the line was slower than the 24 car.
Will Power drops back to 14th position. Conway is now 15th. The leader of the race will be Elio Castroneves with Marco Andretti second. At the top of your screen, you see the rundown with Dixon, Franchitti, and now Simone Di Silvestro shows up in the top 5.
Well, so what I was starting to say prior to that is Elio has been out now on the red tires. You know, he's done about 12 hot laps on them. Is there going to be any fall off of those tires? And that, again, remember, that's part of the design that is here with Firestone. These red sidewalls are a softer compound. It's faster, but they don't have the durability. So with not having that durability, they kind of fall off a little bit sooner in terms of their life. Are we going to see that?
Well, Robbie, I talked to Tim Cindric about that before the start of the race, and they both felt, he and Elio, that it's worth the gamble at this point. Track position versus the fall off. They said until we get to the first third of the race completed, it's worth staying out in the reds if you can gain some spots. I'll have to go back to green.
Indeed we are. They come down into turn number 15. Onto the straightaway. The Apex Brazil green flag comes out once again for our first restart of the day. Down into turn number 1 to go. Quite an elevation change there from the start-finish line down to turn 1, and then they come uphill just a bit. And look at Marco putting the pressure on Elio.
And we saw how aggressive Marco was at the beginning of St. Pete. He's going to set him up.
It's a great passing zone. Oh, he's going to do it. Marco takes the lead, or does he? He runs Elio off.
But Elio did give him a little bit coming in, but Marco didn't give him too much coming back out, did he?
And fellas, how did Marco Andretti make that pass? How about this? Is he coming up on Elio? He hit the overtake button. Elio Castroneves saw in his mirror. Elio hit the overtake button. He waited for it to reset. Marco Andretti hit the overtake button for a second time and completed the pass.
And remember what that overtake gives us. It only gives you about 9 horsepower, give or take a little bit. And that really isn't that much, but it shows you how competitive and how tight it is. And you're fighting for every, not 10th, not every 100th, you're fighting for thousands.
Which is the reason why it's been labeled overtake assist. In other words, Marco already had the move started. He used that to complete it. It's not going to get the job done for you. It's going to help you finish it.
And it worked.
Indeed. Down to Robbie Floyd.
Mike Hall makes the decision for Scott Dixon. Your thoughts are to stay out. I guess the Reds aren't falling off like some people thought they may.
They were better. Maybe it's just because it's just the first run on the tires, but the tires are holding up okay at the moment. And you know what? We weren't even into the window yet. So with a little bit of yellow, it could be. I don't want to lead anybody on. It could be a 2-stop race if everything fell right. But we'd rather be at the front running clean laps, and this is the best way to do it.
You saw it with aggressiveness. You can't make passes out there. Is the thought to be aggressive or just kind of bide your time right now up front and don't make any mistakes?
Well, you don't win the race at the beginning, you win the race at the end. We'd rather be aggressive toward the 90th lap than the 10th lap.
Checker flag comes to that last lap, guys. Mike Hall still smiles right now, and both drivers for the Target Chip Ganassi crew up near the front.
And Robbie, when he says they weren't in the window with kind of a little bit of a smirk, you're not in a 2-stop window. You're definitely in a 3-stop window. And you heard him mention, well, you know, with some yellow, if you had quite a bit of yellow, it's possible it could be a 2-stop race, but that would be one heck of a stretch.
That could be just the mental aspect of the game we love. That's posturing. I'm just going to say that. But we all know it's a stretch. But Dixon is as good as anybody at saving fuel and being smart. I mean, you know, he does what he has to do when he needs to do it, whether it's making fuel or not. He knows how to do it.
We're back here in the pack where Will Power and Mike Conway came out after the pit stops. They're still running 13 and 14.
Bob, here's the conundrum that Will Power finds himself on, and we better watch this very closely. His crew has told him, look, if you can pass, go ahead and pass. But if it's too difficult, then what we want you to do is just ride and start saving fuel. As he's starting to come with Conway, I think both of them were able to pass, so I think the fuel deal is out the window.
All right. So you'll probably see back there with Ryan Briscoe right behind him.
So, Jack, this is Robbie. You're there to save fuel or to pass? What he said?
Basically, what he said is he wanted Will to test it out. If you can get by traffic, then go ahead. But remember what I talked about? You don't want to get bottled up.
Yeah.
If it's too hard to pass, then let's drop back. Let's just save fuel, and we'll wait to fight a little bit later in the race. They found that they were able, at least thus far, to get through some of that traffic, so they're not worried about the fuel.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
18 laps completed, working lap number 19 of 90 at Barber Motorsports Park. Leeds, Alabama. Marco Andretti leads.
Doesn't it make it all work?
Yeah, he said he was trying to clear his name. I thought that was a very astute way of putting it. He realizes that he needs better finishes. He needs better results. He may be having his comeback of the year.
And part of that, it is what he told me earlier. It's getting back to the basics, not looking for that silver bullet. Let's focus on what we know we can do and do it well. Not get too creative. He can drive a race car. He's got a great engineer in Tino Belli. Obviously, they're connecting in communication and getting it done.
Now the top 9 have not made pit stops. We had some before the yellow, and we had some during the yellow for Takuma Sato. Tony Kanaan is running in 10th position, and he is the first driver who has made a pit stop. Simona Di Silvestro continues to look good. She hangs in there in 5th, and Danica Patrick is running in 9th position. And one of the local celebrities is with Lindy Thaxton.
Guess who's here? Taylor Hicks, winner of the 5th season of American Idol. You've never been to an IndyCar race. Tell me what you think of this in your backyard.
This is my first IndyCar race, and being from Alabama, we have racing in our blood, but we've never experienced an IndyCar race like this before here in Alabama. And it's a beautiful Alabama day, and we're glad that Indy's come here to Alabama.
You must also have singing in the blood here, because Bo Bice and Ruben Studdard both from near here as well.
Yeah, there's some singing and there's some racing in the blood, definitely. Being from this state and having racing such a big part, to have an IndyCar event, it's rocking.
Taylor, thanks for your time. And of course, guys, we have our own reality star here in Helio Castroneves.
Of course, yeah, winner of Dancing with the Stars. But the guy who is winning the battle at the moment is Marco Andretti. This is his 24th start in the series on a street or road course, and he has now led in 10 of these races. And of course, his win came at Infineon in the natural road course. And there is Simona Di Silvestro. Had an opportunity to talk with her on Friday, and I don't think you'll find very many people who will disagree that she is, as they say in the business, the real thing.
No question about that. We saw her visualize and blindfold go over what a lap was, and she hit it to a T. But what we've also heard from her crew guys, from Mike Cannon, they are the first to give Simona credit, and that's why she's driving for her. She has a great ability to feel the car, but then to communicate that to the engineers. That's what's important. Look at this
wheel to wheel.
Lock in.
Briscoe and Conway. They hit for turn number 7. Conway will get the spot.
Yeah, he had that inside line, just had to hold him out right there.
That was an aggressive move there.
Fellas, let's update you on the cars that have not pitted. First with Marco Andretti, he should be coming in about 6 laps. Elio Castroneves' crew said they'd like to go 7 more laps. You heard about Scott Dixon. What we've got to do is send who comes first in that group. And then you know what the teams are going to do that have already pitted? Now they know more or less the outside window, the fuel window that is, and they'll begin to count backwards from the last lap in this race. What a great view from the helicopter, huh, fellas?
Yes, Jack, and when you talk about people coming in 6 or 7 laps, that would be because they would determine they don't want more laps on those Firestone alternates, because by the calculations, they won't need fuel yet. If you really wanted to stretch it, then I would predict that Scott Dixon, after hearing from Mike Hull, will be one who will go much longer than 6 or 7 laps from now.
At least that's what he wanted us to believe, and everybody else.
I mean, historically, that's what they do.
And they do it great.
Danica Patrick running at 9 spot. Like turning it on as pitted. Meanwhile, Marco continues to lead, and his advantage over second place Elio Castroneves is just about 1 second. 1 second advantage for Marco over Elio.
Now, we talked a bit earlier about the start and stop because we had those early pit stops. He did have the opportunity to overlay his driving data on top of Will Powers and determine it wasn't just car setup, that Will was physically doing things around this racetrack that he had never tried. And he said that I had to go out there and do things that didn't feel like it's what I should do. After all these years of driving, he said, you know what? Will was right. I had to drop my comfort zone and try stuff, and Will was just doing extra special stuff in his car.
Elio Castroneves, São Paulo, Brazil, Team Penske. A common misperception of me, people think that I'm wild. I might play some games with the guy, especially Will Power, joining the full season. So we gotta give a guy, the rookie guy, a little. Now I'm the veteran, so I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Mr. Wild, Elio Castroneves, second to Marco Andretti. Dixon is third, followed by Franchitti and Di Silvestro. Stay with us for more on Versus.
Well, the drivers did say back in February in the test that there wouldn't be much passing here at Barber, but I'll tell you what, we've seen some pretty impressive passing. Some of it by the Brit, Mike Conway. Johnny, I've got to say that Briscoe had apparently rammed it down the inside of him, and we picked it up just when Conway was going back at him. So Briscoe had obviously annoyed Conway at some point, but pretty dramatic driving.
I think the problem is they've got at the moment is that Will Power and Mike Conway are running nose to tail. They're being held up by Tagliani and the others in front of them, and that means that obviously Briscoe got a run at Mike, and he got him back. A real Buffalo Girls round the outside job. Then Briscoe, to be fair, gave him some room, and that was a fantastic pass, as you see here. I mean, there.
You said you'd have had him in the dirt.
Well, I probably would have run him a little bit wider sooner, but Briscoe was a bit too much of a gentleman there. But you've got to give full marks to Mike Conway there for really hanging it out there and keeping his foot in.
I mean, the kid obviously is enjoying his time at Barber. I mean,
he's feisty though, isn't he? I mean, to be fair, he was one of the few at St. Pete that could overtake, and it all went a little bit wrong with Raf Matos, but he was doing a fantastic job at St. Pete, if you remember.
Yeah, and I think probably Mike also feels comfortable on what is essentially a European-style course, and he's not felt so comfortable on some of the real street courses, and of course they've yet to get the right setup to make him happy on the big ovals.
We're on board with Will Power. He's got past Tagliani. So let's take a look at the strip as it goes through at the top there. Danica Patrick in 9th place after that bit of a full course caution shuffle that we had a little earlier on. That's kind of messed this qualifying up, hasn't it, really? The whole race is now really tricky.
Well, Will Power alluded to it at the beginning, didn't he? He's definitely got the quickest car out there. He's running 2 seconds off the pace that he could run if he was in clean air, and he alluded to it. People are going to be going off strategy and sort of rolling the dice as they do in this series, and it was going to work against him, and it has. But it's a long way to go yet, with 27 laps out of 90, so you have to say with the car advantage that Will Power's got, he's still got a good shot at winning it.
I was just thinking to myself that the time was flying past fairly quickly, because we're almost a third of the distance at the moment as we're back on board with Tony Kanaan at the hairpin. Let's go back to the track then. Fantastic racing at Barber as he gets it a little bit crossed up. Let's rejoin our colleagues.
Beautiful look at Barber Motorsports Park. Marco Andretti is leading right now. It has been 54 races since his one and only win at Sonoma, California Infineon Raceway. It's been 33 since Danica Patrick won her race in Motegi. Ray Hall with a 32-race dry spell. Dan Weldon 28 and Kanaan 27. He last won at Richmond in 2008. We expect Marco Andretti and maybe several others to be making pit stops very, very shortly. Tony Kanaan has already made his pit stop, remember. Up ahead is Danica Patrick. On the front stretch, watch the speed here, up to 154.
And looking ahead, as we're looking to that, Danica has not made the stop. So when we're riding on board with TK here, if everybody in front there did come in for that pit stop, again, Dixon is the guy we got the question mark on. Our guy right here, TK, wouldn't take over the lead race.
But we are safe to say, though, is everyone ahead of him will have to stop before Tony. So therefore, if that happens, he's the leader of this group.
We saw
Go ahead.
I was going to say Will Power just passed Dan Weldon for 11.
Yeah, we always say when oh man, it's going to be so hard to pass.
Yeah.
You never know, but you got to get out here and see it. And for this guy who we know absolutely is hooked up, and Elio Castroneves has been scratching his head doing overlays to figure out where his speed is. He's got it. He's getting by, guys. And remember, Conway was right behind him.
Yeah.
Now he's got those 2 other cars between him and Conway. So it just shows you absolutely how quick Power is.
Both Weldon and Tagliani between Power and Conway. And there's the classic pass. He picks up the position, and Robbie Floyd, pit activity.
Danica Patrick coming in for her pit stop. Of course, she has the black. She's one of the only Andretti Green cars to come in on that, and they're throwing on another set of black tires right now, dropping it. Don't see any of them. Back out with a full load of fuel. Some black to black again for Andretti's racing Danica Patrick.
And pulling out right in front of her, Pete Tornero in his 100. Eyes on IndyCar Series event for A.J. Foyt on the podium in Brazil to start the 2010 season. Look at the countryside filled with those spectators. Great to see, and the leader, Marco Andretti, comes toward the pit. Robbie Floyd, he'll soon be headed toward you. And here's Dario.
Telling him to keep going out there. They like evidently the fuel mileage, but also he was turning such fast lap time. So he takes off those Firestone Firehawk reds, throws on a brand new set of blacks. He thought that, yeah, they were going away. They made a lot of miles out of them. Little slow right there on the takeoff, but they were getting a lot of duration out of those reds. They think they're going to be in perfect mode for those blacks.
Dario still sitting in his pit as the service is completed. Now he's away.
And these are crucial laps for Marco. Right now, he's coming. He's put fresh tires on Kanaan.
There went Kanaan. Remember we said Kanaan was the leader of those who had hit it. He slotted right into this group.
And as I was saying, when you come out on cold tires, this is what really separates the experienced people. Trying to lay down laps on cold tires.
And that means that Marco Andretti, because we didn't see him in that shot,
he's ahead. He is ahead of
Kanaan. So by staying out there, that worked for him. He leapfrogged Tony Kanaan. Look at this move.
Weldon and Tagliani.
When he tags corners, they kind of come up here to this right-hander, hit the curb hard.
Turn 7 and 8.
Well, Scott Dixon evidently making great fuel mileage. 30, lap 30s when he comes down. They make sure they got a full load of fuel in the Firestone Firehouse Blacks. No adjustments for Dixon. He's making fuel, and I think they're happy with that. Ricky Davis, thumbs up. Good stuff for Scott Dixon.
But just flashing by, that was Andretti flashing by. Simona De Silvestro finishing her service, but of course the person who is not pitted, who should be in next time around, is Castro Neves, who has the lead now.
And this, on board with Scott Dixon, this is where he is absolutely brilliant, is what he can do on the outlap on cold tires, as well as that last couple laps before he comes in for service. If he's got clear running in front of him and he needs to get a little extra time out there, he can do it.
Marco followed by Dixon. In comes Kanan. And Elio will make his first stop. Lindy.
Elio said before this race, the fuel window here just seems to be huge. I have no idea what other people are going to be trying. One thing he does know right now, he is happy with his current race car. He is not asking for any changes. Elio started on the red alternate tires. They have taken those off. They are putting on the black primaries, filling up that fuel. There he goes.
Watch for Dixon, watch for Andretti. He just flashed by.
There's Dixon.
So he's going to get second place.
Dixon, yep.
But let's watch how Dixon hounds him as he comes off of 3 and goes across 4 here. He may take a look as they go into turn 5. His tires are up to temperature. Is he going to take a look?
Dixon's on the overtake button.
Not enough.
That's a good bit of driving coming out on cold tires. You can see that wiggle off the back of Castro Neves. You leave the pits. It takes a little while to get the tires up to temperature. That was a nice job of defensive driving, keeping Dixon behind.
And what it did is Dixon had that momentum, and Elio shut that momentum down right now. And really, that was his opportunity to pass. Now he's just going to have to try and fill his mirrors and get Elio into a mistake, and he's going to get by. Low momentum, that's the deal, man.
So it's Andretti, Castro Neves, Dixon, Kanan, and Power, with everybody now having made at least one pit stop. Back with more from Barber Motorsports Park.
Welcome back to the IndyCar Grand Prix of Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama to be precise. Marco Andretti has led more laps today than the whole of 2009. 10 last year is all he led, and Marco has found himself out front and looking good. Let's go back to the track.
On Versus. And on Versus on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, it's the Eyes on IndyCar Series, and we've already had our first series of pit stops.
And if you look at the outlaps there, look who was the quickest, Marco Andretti. You know, I was giving good praise to Scott Dixon that he's masterful at it. But remember, Dixon on his outlap was held up a little bit by Elio. So maybe that could have been faster. But that 3/10, that's a big number. And gaining position the way we cycle in and out of pit road under green conditions.
And Jack Arute, we're dealing with a rather narrow pit lane down there.
Indeed we are, Bob. In fact, while the pit stalls are 40 feet wide, it's only narrower. The only pit road narrower is Long Beach. Now, I want to show you this pit stop. You see, Danica Patrick is behind Vitor Mira. The speed limit is 50 miles an hour. She's already up to 50. Mira is at only 35 miles an hour, but because he came out directly in front of her, that's a blocking maneuver, kind of like a pick that Butler might have thrown Monday night as they lost the national championship. Those are all the little tricks of the trade that these drivers use to gain a little bit of an advantage.
Thank you for mentioning them, Jack, because all of us in Indianapolis, and I think a lot of people around the world, fell in love with the Butler Bulldogs, didn't they? There is Rafa Matos in the number 2 car. He's back in 20th position. And there's Vitor Mira right behind him. AJ Foyt Racing for Vitor Mira and the Lusso Dragon DeFerrin Motorsports entry from Rafa Matos. go to Robbie Floyd.
Marco Andretti qualifies fourth, making the most of his day. Kyle Moyer, it looks like you're making good fuel, but also he is extremely fast. What's the strategy now?
Well, I mean, we need help if we're going to do it on 2 stops. But right now, everybody on the track's sitting on 2 stops. Good thing is we're leading with that strategy. So, you know, we're running as hard as we can, and we've got the car to do that. You know, so as long as we keep them up front in open air, I think we can nail some people. But, you know, we don't need any yellows.
Marco said it would be the adjustments that would make the difference today. What adjustments have you made talking to him?
Well, with the reds, we were about right. Now on the blacks, we're a little neutral, but I think the fronts will wear off, and then it'll come balanced again.
Things set up a little bit better for him. Lindy Thaxton's with Tim Cindric and Team Penske.
Tim Cindric, Elio's strategist. I know you just told Elio to settle in and try to make some fuel mileage. What's your plan here?
Right now, we're obviously trying to make a 2-stop race out of this, and Elio's done a great job saving fuel to this point in time, but it all depends on when the yellows fall. You know, if we can run this stint and stay our green strategy here, we'll be good on a 2-stop race, and he'll be in the driver's seat. We just have to see how the yellows fall.
If it stays green, how long do you plan to make it?
We can do it in about 30 more laps.
30 more laps?
Yeah, well,
Tim.
30 from when we stop.
Thank you, Tim. Jack?
And remember, Lindy, Helio Castroneves was the last of those guys to stop. So he has a little bit more pad when it comes to choosing that two-stop strategy. Now we're starting to get to the point, guys up in the booth, as Alex Tagliani's going to come in because he's out of sequence. Starting to get to the point where guys like Andretti, guys like Castroneves, and guys like, well, on two-stop strategy, they're going to have to figure out they want to be the first to make their final stop. But if you're Will Power, hey, he's just creaming the competition. Can he do this thing in 3 stops?
We shall see. Meanwhile, the crew is ready for Alex Tagliani. It worked up to 7th position, but relinquishes it now to come in for his 2nd pit stop.
And after starting 21st, Bob, he's going on 4 black tires. Yeah, tire pressure adjustment. He's just looking for grip right now. And again, he is off strategy from everybody else. As here, Ryan Hunter-Reay comes into pit lane.
Andretti Autosport crew goes to work on that car. Ethanol in, Hunter-Reay out.
Now, a follow-up on those 2 strategists on pit road. You had on the one side Kyle Moyer saying at the moment the 2-stop overall strategy, we don't think it's going to work. We have 2 more to make. But you get right down to Tim Cindric saying, well, we think the overall 2-stop strategy, in other words, only stopping 1 more time, is alive. There's definitely some cat and mouse. You would need, in my opinion, quite a bit of yellow for Castroneves' strategy to work to only stop 1 more time. I don't think they're there yet.
Robbie, I would have to respectfully disagree with you, Jan, because here's the way I'm breaking it down. Remember, Helio Castroneves went to lap 31. Now, I understand that we had some caution, but we also had those preliminary laps. Now, normally what they figure is that 2 laps under yellow for every lap under green in terms of fuel consumption. It's going to be very, very close, but I think Helio Castroneves can do it because he is pitted. He went 31 laps versus Andretti's 29.
Whoa, look at this action. Vitor Meira and Rafa Matos are wheel to wheel through the corner.
Remember these guys fighting it out at the end of Brazil?
Yeah.
Remember Vitor got Rafa for bragging rights and being on the podium there?
And the 4th car in the line there is Danica Patrick.
Vitor's chasing down Tags. We just saw Tags come out of the pit, so his tires are probably still coming up to pressures and temperatures.
Oh, there's a little bit of a tap.
Whoa.
Well, that's, you got to be forceful to get around this racetrack, and it's great to see.
Here he comes.
There's
Vitor. Nice clean pass.
Turn 5 and now turn 6.
But what's good to see is obviously that was aggressive pass. They both got out, they bumped tires, but it shows you that these cars are fairly sturdy. I mean, you can't just go banging at wheels, but you can brush up against things, and stuff's not going to fly off these race cars.
Well, Robbie, keep in mind that, remember, let's go to Robbie Floyd. All of a sudden, we've got a car on pit road.
Tony Kanaan throwing on a fresh set of primary tires. And I talked to Michael Andretti as he was getting ready to pull in. They're happy with that car and getting thrown out of the way because Alex Tagliani about to come in too, pitted right next to him. But he's happy with the way the car is handling right now. And remember, that's the same setup that Marco Andretti has. They both like their cars. They're just a little bit off different sequence than each other.
So Kanaan, just for the record, guys, Kanaan went 29 laps in that segment because he came in on lap 10. So that's what he did under a full green running, which is pretty good mileage,
That's
John.
better than expected.
Yeah.
So that would tip it towards Castro Neves' strategy of saving some fuel and getting more laps.
Let me correct myself. That is under yellow. That's not full green running, because remember, he came in on lap 10, then it went yellow on 13. So
just after he made the pit
just
stop.
after.
Yeah.
So 29 laps, that does make sense.
And speaking of that yellow, Takuma Sato is back on track. 21 laps down, but he is back in the race. So all 25 cars are still running as we have completed 40 of the 90 laps in this Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, as the National Guard car of Dan Weldon makes his way toward his pit. See if this pit stop goes smoothly. Putting on the blacks. And Weldon is underway. Good stop, 7 seconds.
Looked as though Will Power's crew was set up for him.
And Conway's as well, because Conway's box was right there in front of Weldon, saw those guys set up. But it makes sense. They were in on lap 13, so there's 27 laps of green running.
There now, that's a number that we would expect for a fuel run. And there's no question, there's no speculating on the fact that Power is on a 3-stop strategy, as is Conway. They pitted early enough to where they're committed to that.
But where it's great right now for Will Power, he's got clean track in front of him. There he is. Power is on pit road.
Melcaduno pulling out.
Will Power purposefully coming in 2 laps behind Tony Kanaan. His strategist Clive Howell told him in his ear, go like heck, pretty much in those words, guys, to make up time since Tony will be out of the way. He came in on black tires. They are putting fresh tires on, loading up in fuel. He's just about down, and he's out. The 24 car is in as well.
Conway service completed.
And they go with a different strategy. They decide to go at this stage of the race with the Reds, as does Briscoe.
Now remember, you have to use the Reds. You can use them a minimum of 2 laps, but you have to use them.
Now, did you notice on Conway's car? Woo, look at him, just he says, I got to take that position away from you, Vitor. But that's the kind of driving you have to do so you don't lose that position, because it is so difficult to get by. Vitor, go look on the inside. Not close enough.
Nope. Marco Andretti continues to lead this thing with about a 1.6 second advantage on Helio Castroneves. Marco Andretti leading at the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama.
Marco Andretti might be the man out front at the moment, but it's Mike Conway that's giving all the Brits a certain amount to talk about. There's no doubt about it. He is in amongst the mix, isn't he, that young man at the moment? And Vita Mira will be looking to try and regain the advantage at some stage.
You saw there, he came out. When you're on track coming around, you see someone coming out of the pits, you know you've got only a couple of corners to make it stick while they get their tyres up to temperature. But Conway's got the advantage. He's come out on red, so he'll be bringing them up to temperature a little bit quicker than if he'd come out on blacks.
Yeah, but this now is really turning into a bit of a strategy, isn't it? If we get another yellow at this particular point, it's really going to throw it all open, Christopher. I won't ask you what you think at this point, but of course, fuel is critical. It's a mileage situation.
Yeah, it is, and the interesting thing is that the 2 front runners, she must get out of the way.
Yeah, she must.
She
So
really
through
must.
goes Will Power. I mean,
but Will is on the blacks, you see, which is an interesting moment, because we've now got a situation in which everybody is running different tyre strategies among the front runners, as well as a different fuel strategy.
Milka didn't really cause too much trouble there, did she? 4.5 seconds slower in qualifying, Milka, this week, as opposed to the 5.5 that we had at Sao Paulo.
But Keith, the thing that's really interesting, I think, is that we're nearly 50 laps into this on a testing road course, and we've got the whole field still running. That's really an unusual situation.
Did Takuma get back out?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I missed that.
Must have been electrical, but he got back out again.
21 laps behind, you're right. I've just been brightened up on that particular situation. Marco Andretti then is out front. Last win he had was back in 2006. Let's go back.
Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, or as Charles Barkley wants us to say, Leeds, Alabama. We're on board with number 37, Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's running 17th. That, of course, is Danica just ahead.
And we've seen some great battles back in the field. It was Rafa Matos earlier. That was what you said, 20th spot. And even when you're back, which doesn't sound like you're in it, there's some really hard driving going on.
Well, because you just never know where it's going to cycle through at the end of this, through pit stops and all that. But as tight and as competitive, you can't hold back at any time.
EJ Viso is right behind Ryan Hunter-Reay.
And he closed fast. So Hunter-Reay is not able to keep his speed up, and EJ Viso says, I have you in my sights.
Helio Castroneves has shaved the interval between himself and the leader of the race. It was about 1.1 about 3 laps ago, and now it's down to just, a car length.
So does Helio take the mindset now, okay, there's the leader of the race. I'm just going to pace off of him, mind my time in this position, and do what I can to save fuel, but obviously have Marco there right in front of me as the leader, knowing he's holding a good pace.
Makes sense.
As fast as he caught him, I think he's on it. I still feel without yellow, he's, in my view, of course, just a forecast, he's not going to make it in just one more stop. And I think that as fast as he caught Marco, that he's now adopting the same strategy as Marco, knowing they will both have to stop.
Really? You think he's changed his strategy here, huh?
And you know what, guys? Did you see that overtake number? Marco Andretti is using the overtakes, and in some cases, it's for an offensive advantage. In the case of Helio Castroneves, he's used one of them to try and hold Helio at bay. Helio still has 18 in the overtake in terms of Marco Andretti. He's down to 15. So it's kind of interesting from my perspective. You can use this overtake not only to overtake, but to keep someone from overtaking you.
Yeah, that's true, Jack. And what I was saying, Bob, I don't think he changed his strategy. I just have thought that was awfully optimistic from the pit road to say that he could do it in one more stop.
No question about it.
What's this little move here by Dan Weldon? Oh,
that's a Duno sandwich there.
Tagliani on the inside. Weldon on the outside, and along comes Rafa Matos also.
You don't see somebody take a left-hand corner by passing on the right-hand side of another competitor too often like that.
Up at the top, you're seeing the running order, and the other number is the number of overtakes remaining. And we have reached the halfway point of this event.
So this is really a good visual of these long sweeping corners. Look at this, 2 and 3. They're in the corner. They're in the corner. This is where you're pulling these high G's, and it really is a physical racetrack. And now you're up through the gearbox all the way 150 miles an hour to turn 5.
Wow!
More
look at
cars.
This. Let's watch this group of competitors. Here's Graham Rahal.
Oh! Hideki Muto gets off.
Keep it straight. Keep it straight. No problem. And that Sato that we saw behind Graham Rahal in that yellow car, he's rejoined.
Right.
So they fixed that problem.
Unfortunately, 22 laps down, but you can learn a lot.
Yeah. Did you guys see EJ come up on the back of Danica there?
Yeah.
You know, as you mentioned earlier, Jan, I mean, he's trying to force it. He just wants one little hiccup there so it opens the door for him to get by.
2 of the 3 KV cars running nose to tail. Viso and Marias, 18th and 19th. Here is the replay once again.
He went to turn in and he missed the apex by 3 feet.
Yeah. and mind you how simple and safe that all looks. That's flat out 4th gear. There. So a little bump say, you pass me, I'll come back at you.
That's the pass repass there. That was nice.
But where we just saw Hideki come back to that, we just saw him kind of ease it off the track and come back on, and he missed his point. That's in 4th gear at about 125 miles an hour. I mean, that little fast switchback in 910. Just, we lose perspective when we're just sitting here watching that, how fast it's all happening.
Yep. There are the 3 cars from KV Racing Technology, 18th, 19th, and Takuma Sato back on track, running in 25th spot.
Danica in that battle has been a favorite of the overtake button. She only has 7 left. She's been pow, pow, pow. She's getting after it in this group.
I'm amazed that the overtake button is really giving you that much to protect something or to give you that little bit of edge, which is fantastic. Because, back in the original days with the push-to-pass button, as you're saying with the Champ Car stuff, it was up to 50 horsepower was the differentiation, right?
Yeah. Now with this 9, this series is so close together. A 9 horsepower and a little extra RPM is working here, even on these shorter straightaways.
Yeah, we didn't think that.
Simona Di Silvestro is in 5th spot, about 27 seconds behind the leader, but having a very good run here on this course. She's finished 16th in the first 2 races of 2010 at Brazil and in St. Petersburg, but she has run very well.
And we saw her lead in Brazil, and she was running very strong in St. Pete, but got spun out there in turn 1.
Led 2 laps in Brazil, as a matter of fact. Marco Andretti leads, but we expect a pit stop from him shortly. Right behind him is Elio, and third is Dixon. But the fans have turned out in large numbers for this inaugural event here at Barber Motorsports Park, one that I hope we will return to time and time again. All right, let's check on some of our up front people. Here's Will Power, who is currently in 6th position, and he has the IZOD fastest lap of the race to this point.
You also notice the stat there, 60% or 66% of a lap is over 1G. Now, the definition of 1G would be if you had a hot street car with great tires, you might be able to get 1G on a skid pad. 66% of this lap, you're over 1G, whether cornering, braking, through the seat, through a compression. That is a lot of force. And right in through here is one of the places where the combination of Gs is over 5. Right here, through the seat and to the side, 3 places on the racetrack, you pull over 5 Gs.
Boy, he looks very settled in that cockpit. He is, just relative to how we've seen other guys really fight the wheel. He's going in turn 1 here down to 5th gear. Just watch him turn the wheel in. He's working it a little bit, but he's just got it hooked up. He's smooth, yeah.
Yep. First and second. Very close together on the track, Marco and Elio.
So we haven't seen Elio try to go by him.
Nope.
And Michael Cannon talking to her right now, and I'll tell you a little bit about what they're talking about. It's fuel strategy. Michael, I know you just got through talking to Simona. It's a fuel strategy game for you right now, isn't it?
It is very much so. I mean, we're going to try and do it in 2. We're still 2 laps short. We need a little bit of yellow.
I've never heard anybody talk quite so eloquently, I can't even get it out, as a rookie that she is. It's amazing how she communicates.
That's our ace in the hole. She's remarkably good for a rookie. That's what's seen us do as well as we have this early on in her career.
She's a rookie in the IndyCar series, but she almost won a championship in Formula BMW as well as the Atlantic series there. So she's no rookie to racing, and it's showing it today. Great communication between this team. After all, she does know 5 different languages.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's look at this here. Is Elio going to make a move?
Yeah.
He looked to the inside, but couldn't.
But the one thing he can do when he really is that able to stay behind Marco, he can save fuel. Use that draft. He can ease back off the throttle and just pace off of that. So since Elio is the only one car that went 31 laps on their first conditions, we just heard from Mike Cannon and Simona, she did 30. So no one's done as many as that guy right there, Elio number 3. So if somebody could pull off that whole idea of just a 2-stop strategy, he'd be the one.
Yes.
I think.
But Michael Cannon said, as we both believe, that he needs help. I still think Elio needs help.
You know what I love about you, Jan?
I don't give up.
You make a commitment and you stick with it.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's That's the word that every driver's used around this track is commitment. If you want to be fast and good around here, you need commitment. Jan's just taking it from a different perspective up here in the booth.
Well, you know, you don't want to waffle, like you said. You gotta make your picks.
Right now, you know, Marco knows Elio's back there, but he also knows that Elio's not going to do anything stupid and do a dive bomb pass. You know, if Elio's going to do something, he's going to do it clean, or Marco's going to really sense that Marco's made a mistake, and he'll say, oh, I've messed that up. I better just give that to Elio, and I'll get back behind him. So nothing crazy is going to happen between these guys. Right now, they know there's still plenty of racing left. And we're thinking Marco is probably about 4 laps away from being in.
3 to 4 laps is what I would say from Marco.
Justin Wilson has just made the fastest lap of the race. He is currently in 10th position, showing the charter on the side pods this weekend for Dreyer and Reinbold Racing. Running in 10th position, he just passed Alex Lloyd to go into the top 10. He started 11th, so he's moved up 1 position, and here is the way he got the 10th spot. Down in turn number 5, the best passing zone on the whole racetrack, and a very clean pass of Alex Lloyd.
Alex was kind of thinking, I'm going to come back at you. But that's good to see with Justin. He's on the red sidewalls, and you know what we saw from him when they went to the red sidewalls just in the qualifying, he kind of lost the balance of the race car a little bit and a little bit of speed. But right now, he must like what he's getting from those tires, setting the fastest lap.
55 out of 90 laps in the books at Barber Motorsports Park. Marco Andretti leads.
Marco Andretti may be the man that leads, but is it the man behind him, Helio Castroneves, who's playing the smart race here at the moment by saving fuel and putting himself in the zone? Johnny Molan, we've been sitting here trying to work out strategies. You've pretty much got it taped.
Thank you very much, Keith. Yes,
the hospital
from an armchair, from the safety of my armchair. It looked like about 6 or 7 laps ago that Marco got the call to save fuel, and Helio very cleverly has just coasted up behind him. Is obviously could lap a lot quicker, and is just sitting there and saving fuel, as they mentioned again in the commentary. So they're just hoping now that obviously they're going to pit probably within the next 2 or 3 laps, and from that moment on they need 2 or 3 laps of yellow to go to the end. Otherwise they're not going to be able to win this race. It'll be down to Will Power, who's running in 5th, and he's the only one to stop twice in the top 5.
It's very fine. Simona Di Silvestro, I think she's done 30 laps, and Christopher, tactics, there's going to be a few people working things out in the back of cigarette packets today.
Yes, there is, and we talked earlier about tyres as well as part of the strategy, and Will Power's made great use of what he's been running on the blacks in order to have got back up there, and he's now 5th. But we have got, here we go, this is a critical moment.
So the 14 car is down in pit road.
Now he's a little way down at the moment, but now we're at the critical moment. If there was to be a yellow now, then they could go from lap 60 to 90, because every 2 laps under every 2 laps under yellow uses the same amount of fuel as a hot racing lap.
So if it goes yellow now, they'll all pit as well, and not just.
That'll be the final pit.
That will be the final pit, absolutely.
But it's going to be interesting the way it shakes out. And it's going to shake out just about in this break, I think, with the times they're doing at the moment. Quick, I've got to bring it to you guys. Milka Duno, really, she was the mobile chicane. I know you want to hand it to each other as far as the comments concerned on there. Well, let me do it then. Milka Duno really and truly is.
Hang on a minute.
It's just, I mean, it's too much to expect that people are running all over the way they do. No time for you two to answer that, so we'll go back.
54 races since he was in victory lane. And Marco Andretti currently leads the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, presented by Legacy Credit Union.
He should be close to a pit stop. If he goes too much longer,
there he
goes. I was like, he went too much longer, I'd start getting worried. So that's right on schedule, what we thought.
And really, guys, I just have this feeling they're just trying to get it over with. Kyle Moyer says bring him in, where I thought they were going to wait another lap or two. But I think they're getting it over with. A fresh set of Firestone Firehawks are going to go on. And, of course, they're going to dump as much fuel as they can possibly get into this, Delara. All is clean and clear. Now he's just hoping that some yellows come out, and maybe, just maybe, he can make it to the end of the race.
Well, Jan, you and I both think it's more than just 1 or 2 laps of yellow that he's going to need there to get to the end of the race. But that can happen.
Notice there on the pointer, you saw his pit exit speed. The limit is 50, and he was right at 49 and 50 miles an hour.
50 is okay. 51, you're serving a penalty. There's no wiggle room.
And it's a pretty neat deal. All it is a button on the steering wheel that you press that button. It keeps the car at that speed. But when you come into pit road, it's the driver's responsibility to get it down to that 50-mile-an-hour mark. You can't just press the button and it does the work for you. You got to get it to 50, but then the button keeps it there.
Elio has not been out of the top 3 since the green flag dropped at this race. He has led 7 laps. Marco Andretti has led 38. Will Power 12, and Elio has now led 8 laps.
And Elio's in a good position right now. He wants to lay down as fast as laps as he can, because he definitely was being held up by Marco. So now is the chance to lay down some fast laps, give yourself a little bit of cushion on where he was to Marco earlier. So what he's trying to do is, when he comes into the pits, he wants to come out ahead of Marco, but he's got some traffic up ahead of him, and that could flip-flop that whole deal of trying to make that position up on Marco. Does that make sense? You with me on that?
I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm definitely with you. Great look there at Graham Rahal, who has been struggling this weekend to find the kind of setup and the speed that he wants. He says, we never gave up, but boy, we've thrown everything at this car. We can't quite make it into my comfort zone.
And he will go at least one more race for Sarah.
Oh, here's a good battle. I think Wilson's going to go for it.
That's Ryan Briscoe.
Oh, he is all over him.
Kanaan and Conway.
Yep. Andy Silvestro.
Oh, look at that. A little bit of kind of fisticuffs, if you will, a little bit with Kanaan and Conway there.
Oh, another sandwich.
Gosh. And
Viso has spun, but we'll keep going.
Back underway. That's in turn 5. But boy, that's a quick split. 130 miles an hour. They did that with Milcaduno, Conway, and Kanaan. Woo!
Elio completes another pit stop. Dario completes a pit stop,
which should put him a lap or 2 short.
Yep.
So again, we focus back on Castro Neves. He needs to go another lap or 2 for that strategy to work. If he can
that's exactly what they're trying to coax out of Elio Castroneves right now. They also told him that at this point in time, what he needs to do is use the overtake button if it can gain him some advantage over Scott Dixon. The magic number for them is 60. To be comfortable, they'd like to come in on 61.
Well, if he can do it.
Good
and isn't that interesting? I'm saying, hey, he's got to go as fast as he can and use the overtake button just to where he cycles out with Marco. But you got to save fuel. You got to get to lap 61.
Rafael Matos made a pit stop, and here is Scott Dixon making a pit stop. And the target Chip Ganassi driver goes back out there. That's Andretti coming down the front stretch.
He'll get that position on Dixon.
Pretty good gap there. Marco right now, I mean, he's got no one in front of him, Jan. He wants to get busy and get after it because he knows the guy he was racing with, Elio, is going to be cycling through the pit box, and he doesn't want to give that position up with whatever's going to transpire on pit road between the two teams.
But it'll only take one more. Oh,
And
he's
Elio's
on the pit.
on pit lane.
He's right on the verge of being able to make this.
Lap 61.
Gets rid of a tear off as he heads for the pit box.
Yeah, for a couple laps, they've been telling Elio as soon as you hit traffic, get in here. Here he goes, at 8.7, he's out. We need to see Bob. Is he going to get out of here before Marco Andretti passes?
Oh, Marco's going to go.
So,
but there's two different strategies at play in that Marco most likely will have to stop without yellow, and now it does appear as though they were telling us the truth that they are trying to make that the last stop for Castro Neves.
And there's Briscoe.
Briscoe is on pit lane. The third member of Team Penske. He switches from reds to blacks.
And new ones.
And away he goes.
So, what I love right here, Elio Castroneves with the orange mirrors. He's back out behind Marco, so he can pace off of Marco.
Here are the two DNR guys working together.
That makes you a bit nervous, huh?
Yeah, you know, they can have a spirited battle, but don't cut each other up.
Right.
You know, have it be friendly. They're Englishmen. But Justin's, when he's sneaking his nose out as you're going into turn 12 there at 160 miles an hour, nah, don't make the move there. Whoa, do you see Justin's car just get a little bit loose? That rear end trail around as he comes through there.
That's for seventh place.
Yeah, 7th and 8th. Conway started on the front row.
Yeah, and now the best place to pass is
coming right up here.
Yep, over 4. There's the crest. Set him up. And Mike's protecting it a little bit.
Yep, it's gonna get it.
In highlighted in green, he used the overtake. You just saw it go down to 11 from 12. That was
spirited.
Yep, exactly what you wanted, Robbie.
Now, good job.
Wilson to 7th position. Andretti leads this race here at Barber Motorsports Park. Stay with us for more in a moment.
The best IndyCar race of the year so far from Barber Motorsports. Then it might be the inaugural event, but what an event, what a venue, what a day, and some great racing all the way around the field. I mean, that's between Mike Conway, of course, and Justin Wilson, teammates in Dreyer and Reinbold, but you wouldn't guess it. And in comes Will Power.
I mean, we were talking about this earlier. He could have gone a lot further on fuel, but he has to pit now because he can make it comfortably to the end. And I think Elio is on the cusp of making it to the end. I think he can do it as well, maybe on fumes at the end. But if there was a yellow now and Will hadn't pitted, he would have been in deep trouble. So this is basically him rolling the dice, and now that effectively puts him and Castroneves back on a very similar strategy.
There's a few strategists got brain ache at this particular point, I think, Christopher.
Yeah, and we think that Michael Andretti may be one of those who is going to have the brain ache, because we think Marco probably can't quite do it. To the end without it's got to be
I think this is going to be a straight fight between Elio and Will Power at the end from the looks of it, with Scott Dixon maybe in the mix.
And surprised that Mike Conway has slipped back a little bit, so he's effectively running 8th now, 7th adjusted if you like now, but it's been very tight, hasn't it? Great racing.
Bad news for us, of course. At 25-1, Mike Conway was worth a good bet a little bit earlier on. You could have got betting on him as well. You want to watch out for that. Oh, and off she goes. My God. I won't go any further. I was going to talk about Milcaduno a little earlier on. Now I am going to throw it to you two boys. You got away with it in the last
But
break.
what we're allowed to say then is, in among the females, Danica's having a reasonable race, but Simona is having a terrific race.
And Milka is otherwise. Let's go back to the track then and see if they'll pick up that particular story.
Will Power relinquished 4th position just a few minutes ago to make this pit stop. It was very clean, very fast. Will back out there in good shape, but he did drop down to 8th position. So as we enter the final few laps of this race, Will Power right now, after his final pit stop, is in 8th position. Here are the top 5 with 64 laps completed. Marco Andretti, Elio Castroneves. Scott Dixon is 3rd, Dario Franchitti 4th, and Tony Kanaan 5th.
rejoin us with the immaculate Tony Kanaan underneath us at this moment in time. He's just been down in pit road for his last fuel load and has passed by number 6. That's Ryan Briscoe that's in front at the moment. We come across the line at the moment. Really an enthralling race from Birmingham in Alabama. Let's get back to the track.
A couple of laps ago, Milcaduno had an off-track excursion. Let's take a look at it here. Yeah, missed the corner, went into the grass. Now, Kyle Moyer, who calls the race for Marco Andretti, they need a caution. They were hoping for a full course caution, but they did not get it.
Crash. And then why he needs that yellow, it looks as though they're about 5 laps short, maybe 4 laps short of under green conditions, so they need that help.
And fellas, here's the way it works. Yes, Michael really needs that. Now, that gives him both the good and the bad as the leader because they know they're going to have to pit so they can try and go a little faster, add some separation. Now, as I'm analyzing this stuff, I'm looking at Helio Castroneves, and with the fact that he pitted by lap 61, that's all well and good. If Helio can stay pat, make fuel, be conservative. But you want a sleeper? Take a look and let's watch for a little while the Iceman himself, the guy running in third. Scott Dixon pitted on lap 30, pitted again on lap 60. Hey, Robbie Floyd, it's a possibility that when this is all said and done, the tortoise may beat the hare, and it may very well be Scott Dixon.
It may very well happen. And the communication between driver and crew chief, man on the box is Mike Hull. And Scott keeps asking throughout the race, what number do I need? What number do I hit? Mike says, we work on that since the very first lap. So you have a lot of computers up on this deck, just plug it away. And Mike keeps hitting with a certain number. But Scott also, with all this going on out there on the racetrack, he still keeps asking for a specific number that he's trying to hit.
And guys, that's where Mike Hull says that Dixon is very
we have a spin. And that is Alex Lloyd in the Boy Scouts of America car.
Kyle Moyer again is like crash.
Yeah. Why is that car running? That car should have stalled.
Almost collected Sato there when he spun. Take a look at it once again. Ooh,
little bump.
Danica
Howie
bumped into the side of Lloyd and watch Sato. Ooh, brakes.
Yeah, nice. Like we said there's some beef to these cars. Danica got her wheel right in there and just kind of pushed Alex over the side.
Danica's running 16th, by the way. So Kyle almost got the full course caution, but nope, we remain green.
Hey, fellas, remember we were talking about the beef on these cars? You got to remember, when they were first designed, this was a predominantly oval series, and you guys have driven these cars, driven Indy cars. You know when you run on ovals, they've got to be, well, not fat, but they got to be big boned, right? Well, now when we've transitioned over to some of the road courses, they're not as fragile as some of their cousins that were designed originally just for road courses and then kind of evolved into street course and road course racing.
Andretti Autosport with 4 cars this year. Andretti is the best, and Danica Patrick is back in the 16th position. So Marco Andretti continues to lead, but by just a scant margin over Helio Castroneves, who we think will be able to go to the rest of the way without a fuel stop. Stay with us. Welcome back to our live coverage of the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama from Barber Motorsports Park. On Versus, the leader is Marco Andretti right there in 26. Right behind him, the second place car of Helio Castroneves. Dixon is third, then Franchitti and Will Power, who is going for his 3rd win of the in a row. However, he has not led since quite a few laps ago. He led a total of 12 laps. And Marco Andretti has been, for the most part, the man up front. 19 laps to go on this 2.3-mile course.
So I was saying earlier when we were talking about Dixon and kind of the guy we forgot about in this, sitting in that 3rd position, Mike Hull, his strategist, says that Scott is so good at at taking, give him numbers, and he does it. He can produce it. He'll hit it. You don't have to massage it. Tell it to him, and he can do it. Pretty high praise.
Yeah. The last race of 2009 at Homestead Miami Speedway, we ran without a caution, and we've only had one caution here in our first race on U.S. soil in 2010. And so the race is moving along very, very quickly. We've only got 18 more laps to go in this event. 17 cars still on the lead lap.
So this is going to be interesting how this shakes it up here. We got that lead pack. There's Marco in the red and black car chasing down Graham, being pressured by Elio. How are they going to carve their way through here?
Very carefully.
But does Marco be aggressive and gap it, and then he's got Graham between him and Elio, and then having said that, then he's got other cars in front of him. So this is going to be a good last 15 laps.
Well, Elio's been telling strategist Tim Cindric, every time I get too close to Marco, I'm just losing all my clean air. I can't go around him. And Cindric is saying, be sure if you can hit that overtake, if you get a good run, then do it. And he's also saying, we can go the distance here. There is absolutely no way that Marco can get to the end without a yellow. And we saw that earlier on Kyle Moyer's face, guys.
And that is indeed the case. He will not have to make a pit stop if we stay green. If is a big word right now. You won't miss a thing in IndyCar nonstop on Versus.
And you'll miss even less if you're watching on Sky Sports, of course, because we're not going to a break. We're going to stay with this for the moment. And this fuel strategy business is really playing out now, isn't it? Andretti can't make it to the end. Johnny, you've been saying that all along.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that. He's at least 4 or 5 laps short. I mean, to be honest, even if there's a short yellow, he'll still be struggling a little bit, especially if he's pushing on now. And one thing to remember is that when they use the overtake button as well, that's obviously going to be using more fuel. So they have to be a little bit careful how much they use that.
Sticking with the driver just for a minute, Christopher, if I may, the fact of the matter is as well, you were talking about you were amazed that the aero wasn't interfered with when they got close together around this racetrack, although TK has been saying that perhaps...
Well, Elio's following Marco, and he was complaining to Tim Cindric that he's losing all his air. Basically, that means he's losing all the downforce off the front of the car, is generating too much understeer, which means he can't follow close enough to get a run onto him coming out, because it's all very fast corners here, sort of leading one into the other. But earlier on, watching Justin Wilson following Mike Conway, in actual fact I was surprised how close Justin could get to the back of Mike Conway there without apparently losing front aero. So perhaps Penske are running a little bit less overall downforce on their cars.
Let's talk push to pass. 20 of them available, of course, Christopher. Very useful on a track like this.
Yes, it is. And one person who is alleged not to have used all his by any stretch of the imagination is Scott Dixon, who we're in danger of overlooking a little bit here. Great strategy, as always, from the Ganassi team. And Dixon knows what to do there, so you can dive past if you get it right. Well done. Underneath Weldon there. But I think we may yet see Dixon surprising us.
Ryan Hunter-Ray we were on board with there for a moment, and as they make their way through, this is Tagliani. Well, it's all going to be a race to the flag, of course. Who's worked out the strategy perfectly? We're going to find out in the closing stages of the Indy Alabama Grand Prix. Let's go back.
Tagliani, who is in 10th position, has had a good run for this fast team, a new one this year in the IZOD IndyCar Series. We met the principal owner of the team, Andre Ozzie, yesterday, had a good conversation with him, and I look for good things from this team all year long.
No question about it. I mean, starting on the front row in Brazil, what a great way to kick things off with a new team, and it's just been carrying over.
And Andre is very excited about flying the Canadian colors, saying they really need to have a strong Canadian team. He'd like to bring it back to the days of the Players team in the series, and says that's really what my goal is. Remember, they did not test here, so the fact that he's running in the top 10 for not having participated in the test, wow, that's something else.
Yep.
And Jan, you're watching the leader as he continues to try and work over Graham Rahal in that yellow car. Here's what I think's happening. Marco has accepted the fact that he has got to make another pit stop, and it's going to be a time stop just for fuel. What he's trying to do, as you guys were alluding to, is put some of those slower cars between himself and Helio Castroneves. And, you know, it's really going to be interesting. If he doesn't do it pretty soon, he's going to run out of overtakes. Look at Marco has begun to use these overtakes, and the ratio was 14 for Castroneves. He hasn't used any lately. Marco has been hitting that button. What does he want to do? He's only got a half-second lead over Elio. He can get by these cars. Maybe it could be a 1 or a 2-second lead, and then maybe the splash and go would get him really, really close. This is a nail biter.
And maybe
strategies.
You know, Jack, when we're watching, it doesn't look like Marco's really gotten close enough to Graham to really make a good, clean pass. And maybe it's the same thing we just heard by Elio. Anytime he gets closer to the back end of that car, it just starts washing out. So he's really struggling to get close enough to make that opportunity to pounce and have a good pass.
As you guys know, all the drivers talked about how great this racetrack was, but you had a lot of side drift. You had a lot of, not wheel spin, but that's why you've got all those G-forces that you're involved in all the time. So what even Elio said to me yesterday, he says it's a fun racetrack to drive, but you are right on the edge all the time.
Fitness is also going to play at this stage of the race when you've had this much green and you're getting towards the end. This is a racetrack, Robbie, as you said earlier, can wear you out, and there could be a few people who start getting, as we say, falling out of the seat somewhat, losing some concentration.
Because you start breaking down physically, and that hurts you in the mental game. Excellent point with all the green running, because I didn't anticipate this much green running. I would have thought we would have had another car off in the pea gravel somewhere.
Me too.
Prior to having 13 laps to go in this.
Been a very, very clean race, as I said. Only
excellent
one
racing.
Caution. Yeah, and that was for a stalled car.
And it's worth reviewing that of the people that are up front, we assume that Andretti, who is obviously leading, Franchitti is touch and go in 4th place. In 5th, Power is good to go. So there is still a very likely shifting of the top 5 before this thing is
Dixon.
over.
Don't forget Dixon as well.
Yes, Dixon, I believe, should be able to hang with Castro Neves just by his history in making fuel.
It's battle for 8th position. We're on board with Tony Kanaan looking back on Justin Wilson. Mentioned a few minutes ago, this was our first telecast on U.S. soil. It is, of course, the second race on U.S. soil for the Izod IndyCar Series, with our buddies at ESPN on ABC having coverage of the St. Petersburg Grand Prix.
Do you not just love looking out the back of that? When we were looking earlier back out of Turn 5, you look back at Justin Wilson just trying to put power down. The rear of the car is just kind of squirming in second gear coming off there. We've seen that with everybody. That's not just Justin. That's every one of these guys are working their tail off to get that power down. Every time we've had a camera shot looking backwards like this. Still don't feel like I'm on the roller coaster elevation ride that's really out there when I'm on board.
I know.
It's not
you
doing
just can't get the feeling,
of how blind some of the stuff is and really what the elevation change is.
I'm with Kyle Moyer. Kyle, the look on your face, not so good. Where are you sitting right now? Because the guys were guessing you might get by Graham and maybe help yourself out that way, and Castro Neves have to fight through it.
Yeah, we need more than 3 seconds on the track. We need 3 laps of yellow, and it's my mistake. I mean, Marco's driving really good here, and I got caught out not doing the fuel-saving mode early in the race, and you can blame this one on me right now unless we get a yellow.
Anything can happen. This is the Izod IndyCar Series. He's looking for yellow, but right now all green with 78 laps for this 90-lap race complete.
And it takes a real man to admit to what he just did.
And when you're wrong, which is me.
But
thank you, Jan. Hey, we're going to take another break, and so we can have the last 10 laps without interruption. This thing is far from over here at Barber Motorsports Park.
But we're going to stick with it, of course, and the live pictures are coming to you from our overhead cam. I've got to say that Versus, our broadcast partners this week, have done us proud with pictures. It's not often that we sit here praising what we're seeing, but really fantastic pictures. They've made a great job of the inaugural Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. I've got to say that. Do you agree, gents?
Yes, absolutely, I do. And really spectacular shots, helicopter and everything. All sorts of really, really nice shots.
11 laps to go then. Andretti, we've heard already that he is definitely not going to be the man for this at the moment. Castro Neves is sitting pretty. Dixon?
Well, we were just talking about Dixon earlier, and interesting to hear our American colleagues giving him a good plug as well.
and that's your thought.
No. I'm sorry. Sorry, I thought there was.
Sorry, would you like to finish the thought?
Yeah, hang on. He's just fallen asleep, Chris.
No. I just thought we were about to have a dramatic overtaking moment, but we didn't.
No, I think you'll find that Scott Dixon he is a master of saving fuel, as is Dario, to be fair. But on an oval, it's easy to save fuel on a road course. It's very difficult to save enough fuel to actually gain you an entire lap on a road course, even when you're following, like he is, Elio Castroneves, and slipstreaming on the straights, etc.
And all this arises because the Andretti team has unfortunately got it wrong. And great, as they just said, to hear Kyle Mower saying, look, that's my mistake, which some might think compares interestingly with a certain Formula One team's strategy in qualifying in the rain the other day.
You say that, though, but if Marco Andretti had been saving fuel earlier on, he wouldn't be leading right now, because one of the reasons he got to the front was because he was able to actually drive very aggressively and actually overtake a few people to get there.
Yeah.
So I think actually to say that it's I think he's quite nice of him to say that, but I don't think in actual fact that's strictly true.
So, in the closing stages, with 10 laps to go, of course, any surprises coming from anywhere that you guys have spotted?
I'm actually slightly surprised that Tony Kanaan's not featured a little bit more in this. I thought he'd be quite strong. And also EJ Vito seems to be remarkably quiet today. He's running down in 20th place and not lapping particularly quickly all afternoon. I don't know if he's not particularly happy with his car setup. Don't know what you think, Christopher.
Brief shot there of Mike Conway on the end of that. No time left as far as our guys are concerned. We're going to go back to the conclusion of the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama.
All right, we're back to settle this thing here, and a lot of traffic out there.
Oh!
How did Conway get through there?
I covered my eyes. You yelled, I covered my eyes.
That's Tony Kanaan running in 7th, then Wilson, then Conway, 7th, 8th, and 9th. It has been 24 laps since Marco pitted, and we heard Kyle say that he has a need for a pit stop relatively quickly here, which means that if he does pit, we're going to have a battle, it would seem, between Elio and Scott Dixon, who are currently running 2nd and 3rd and very close to each other on the racetrack.
And right behind Dixon, position-wise, is Franchitti, who stopped a lap earlier than
here
Dixon.
He comes.
Oh, so
Marco is on pit lane. Too bad that he has to relinquish the lead. He has led 58 laps of this thing, but he is in for a needed splash of fuel, Robbie.
Well, no need for tires, just a splash and go. He's saying, I want you wide open coming in. Now dump it. Hopefully he doesn't lose too much time. Unfortunate. Kyle Meyer took it upon himself, and he's feeling it now as much as Marco Andretti is.
And he's going to come out, however, with a relatively clean racetrack ahead of him.
Yeah. And, we saw Kyle say, hey, take this one on me, but, you got to be aggressive on the pit stands.
A shout out to Graham Rahal in the Sarah Fisher car. Right now, he is going a lap down, but he has stayed on the lead lap all race long.
And that was Elio on the overtake button. That was off of turn 5, and he used that overtake button and gapped Rahal.
And here comes Dixon.
Oh. He didn't want it to be that easy for Dixon to get by Rahal, that's for sure.
3rd place, Dario Franchitti, is about 10 seconds behind these two, so it would appear to be a battle to the finish between Elio and Dixon.
you mentioned Franchitti. Again, he stopped a lap earlier than Dixon, so he may also need a splash. Behind him in 4th place, Power, we know he doesn't. He pitted much later.
We're just on board right there with Dixon, and you want to talk about back steering and working this wheel. And we talked about how physical this racetrack is. When you see you're having to catch the wheel just like that all day long, you're working hard. It's a drain on you physically. Then mentally, you got to be sharp.
Mike Hall looking at his driver, Scott Dixon. Rafa Matos up front.
Sawing on that wheel as he's putting the power down, isn't he?
Yeah.
Man.
Typically when you're having when you're letting cars come through, when you're a lapped car, you want to try to treat everyone equally. So if you let the car like Castroneves ahead fairly easily, you want to try to give that opportunity so that you're not impeding. So Matos here will certainly want to try to be consistent in how he's letting these front guys go through.
Because what goes around comes around.
Justin Wilson moves up to 7th position. Tony back to 8th.
There you go.
And right there in turn number 5 is where the pass occurred.
Nice and clean.
Wilson, Kanaan, and Conway, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And some battling going on here.
Oh, and you saw that Dixon did get by Rafa Matos. So now there are no cars between he and Castroneves, but he definitely lost time.
And in order to do that, Scott Dixon used one of those overtakes because he saw what happened there. Needs to make some time.
We understand that race control asked for a courtesy from Rafa Matos, which was quickly given. All 3 of the Penske cars are in the top 6. Verizon Team Penske with Will Power is 4th. Briscoe and Castroneves are 6th and 1st, respectively.
And Danica Patrick pulls in for hair pit stuff. I was here just a moment ago that Scott Dixon was not happy at all with Rafael Matos, and evidently the officials had something to say about that. But Mike Hull again said, Scott, just worry about Elio, trying to calm him down. So I guess just fuel strategy is not everything that they're concerned about. I think Scott still wants to win this thing, Jack.
And Di Silvestro may have stalled here to the point of causing a caution. Full course caution. She needs to take lessons from Jan Bikas as to how to get the thing in reverse and keep the car running, first of all. Still only a local yellow. Less than 5 laps to go in this one. And the interval is opened up between 1st and 2nd. Here's the replay from Dan Weldon's car. Full course caution.
On the brakes in, rotated around.
Well, with this being full course yellow now,
that helps Franchitti.
It helps Franchitti, but it also brings Dixon right on the back of Elio, and he's got no issues. We were kind of saying, hey, Dixon was going to have to really conserve it, but that all goes away. And the other guy who we know is really the fastest guy around here is Will Power, sitting back there in that 4th spot.
And what would the mindset be of Marco Andretti, who has led the most number of laps and is 5th and isn't going to be too far behind either?
Let me take you all back to the start at St. Petersburg. Remember Marco Andretti carving himself like a hot knife through butter on the drop of the green flag? He has 8 overtakes left. He now has the fuel that he needs. Everybody else in front of him now can breathe a sigh of relief. But this kid right now is sitting there saying, let's go back to green, and I'm going to get me some spots.
Yep. This is going to be a great finish. Elio Castroneves last won at Texas last year, 14 races ago.
You know, and a good call for Marco to come in and realize early on, they said, hey, we got to come in for fuel. I mean, if they would have waited and this yellow came out and they did it under this yellow, then they would have probably just cycled to the back anyhow. So really how they did play that out, Kyle saying, you know what, we don't have enough fuel. Kyle Moya, that is, come in now, let's get you back out. Just a quick fuel splash and go, and off you go.
There are going to be some lap cars that are between Andretti and the front of the field besides the 4 ahead of him in the scoring.
Remember me talking about overtake? Originally the idea was to give you the added horsepower to be able to go faster and pass a car. Now if you're Castroneves, you start to look at the 10 overtakes that you have left as a defensive maneuver. Yeah. If you're Scott Dixon, I think, and you see Will Power in your mirror and Marco Andretti, you do likewise. So I think this is going to be interesting. I'm going to really monitor these overtakes right now and see where and how they're used once we go back to green.
I'm really amazed at what a great tool that, again, as we said earlier, that overtake button only being the small horsepower percentage it is, but it just gives you just that little bit you need that we've seen.
Prix.
Okay, guys, how about some predictions here? Jan?
Castro Neves, I think, had everything go his way, and unless Scott Dixon has been really saving something that we haven't seen yet, I think that under these circumstances, Castro Neves can drive away.
Shorty?
Well, thank you. Well, between you and I earlier, I thought I liked what Dixon was, so I'll just stay with Dixon.
Okay, yeah,
I won't be fair weather guy here like to the right of me, Jan.
Yeah. We predicted for the start of the race who was going to win, and I picked Elio, and so did Robbie, right?
No, I went with Dixon just to separate.
Right, so yeah.
And you had power, if I remember, Bob.
I did not.
No, you did. You did, Mr. Jan.
Oh, how did I forget that?
Yeah, right.
Oh, dear. Medics,
yeah.
Come on in.
We're going to have a talk with him.
He said that with such a straight face, too. It really concerned me.
It caused me to think a minute there. Okay. Oh, the pace car's pulling off. Hey, we're getting ready to go back to racing.
Jack, watch those overtake hits.
You got it. Just 2 laps to go when they hit the line. A green-white checkered. Here they come off corner 15. And the Apex Brazil restart green flag comes out. Let's see who wins at Barber.
Both Elio and Dixon are on the button, guys.
Now, how many cars we got? I'm trying to pick up power back here in this queue. We know there's some other lap cars there. I'm just trying to ID him.
Hey, Dixon's back on the button again. He's down to 14. Elio Castro Neves sees in the rearview mirror. He hits the button again. Offense met with defense.
Doesn't seem to have anything for Elio, though.
He got time. He's got time. But you sure would be like to be right up on his gearbox, just letting you know I am gonna pounce when I can set it up just perfect.
White flag is coming out. 1 more lap to go. There's Dario back in 3rd position, and Will Power right behind him.
Yeah, there's the podium spot right there. This is, I think, the battle,
and he can do it.
It's going to play out.
Yep. Okay, this is where we've seen all the passes. He should stay to the left.
He's
here,
on the overtake. They both are on the overtake.
Oh, looking to the inside in 5.
That might have been his last chance.
I don't. But with the traffic in front of him, it may just. Franchitti just may have to dump the throttle once, and then he can get in there.
All right, it looks like that the win streak is broken. He has just a few more feet to go through turns 11 and 12. Will Power's streak at 2 wins in a row is over. Elio Castro Neves, through largely pit strategy, wins the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama here at Barber Motorsports Park. Don't forget, he goes for his 4th win at Indianapolis in May. And here is Will Power, who finishes in 4th position after winning the first 2 races of 2010. It's Elio's first win since Texas last year, his 17th victory in the IZOD IndyCar Series, and his 23rd win in major open wheel competition, moving him into a tie with Dario Franchitti for 14th on the all-time list. Elio Castro Neves wins here in Alabama. We'll be back in just a moment on Versus. the fences. As the crowd came from the hillsides down to the fence to congratulate him and salute his victory, Helio Castroneves is back. Here's how it went just a few moments ago as he climbed the fence.
What a great feeling to know, coming here uncertain if they could break that streak of willpower, climbing the fence, to the congratulations of the fans.
Let's go down to Robbie Floyd, who's with second place. Scott Dixon
finishing second place. A fuel strategy race, but it almost paid off. You were still trying to be aggressive towards the end.
Yeah, it was tough to, kind of monitor what you need to do. You obviously need a pace and you need to save fuel, but I think the officials screwed us at the start. We didn't pass Helio. I passed him on the outside into one. I'd tried to on the inside going into one, got beside him again, back behind and past him, and then they still called me to go back behind Marco. So I don't know where that came from, and I think that was a pretty bad decision. So a good day for Team Target all in all, a second and third, but I think we could have, it was all about track position today, and if we'd been ahead of Helio, I think we could have stayed there.
It was much better than St. Pete, and I know you were trying to be aggressive there towards the end, angry with the back markers. You weren't trying to settle with just trying to hit that 3 miles a gallon or whatever.
Yeah, that was the hard thing. You got the team, in your ear saying that, you got to save fuel, but all in all, you got to try and push. But got to say hi to my wife Emma and Poppy back in England watching too, and her family and my family back in New Zealand. So thank you.
I know you wanted to win, but Target Chip Ganassi car number 9 Scott Dixon takes second place here in Alabama.
After an 18th place finish at St. Petersburg, the runner-up today is Scott Dixon. The winner is Helio Castroneves. We'll talk with him when we come back on Versus.
And you'll hear from him when he comes back on Sky Sports as well. Johnny, let's talk about Dixon's comments just there at that particular point, because it's always a fine line, isn't it, between getting penalised and not.
Yeah, I must admit, I can totally understand why he's upset. I would be as well. Having said that, when they showed the replay, which maybe he won't have seen, I think the reason that they asked him to go back wasn't, he's right, he didn't overtake Helio before the line. You're supposed to hold position in terms of your qualifying before the line, but he overtook Marco Andretti. He'd qualified 4th and he was 5th. So I think it was because he'd overtaken Marco Andretti before the line that they made him go back behind Marco, which obviously involved going back behind Helio as well. So I think that's what the officials are thinking, but I can understand why Scott's upset.
One thing's for certain, he'll be running to the camper to see exactly how that works out off the recorder. But no history made today, Christopher. The power surge is over.
Yep, that's right. But listen, he's come away. He said right at the top of the show, if I can't win, I'd be really pleased to come away with some great points. He has done. He's still got a massive lead in the championship and a long way to go. So he should be happy with his day's work.
Some fine racing today. I've got to say, I've really enjoyed this race today.
Do you know, the thing I was just thinking there, watching the nice shots they had of the crowd beginning to disperse, don't forget, an awful lot of those people will never have seen single-seater motor racing of that calibre before, and this will be a big moment for them. They've seen a great race on a really good circuit, and it's really nice to see it now in the IndyCar Series.
It's strange, isn't it, because it is almost an anomaly. Only up the road is Talladega. I drove up to Talladega when we were out there just to take a look at Talladega Speedway, because I'd never been there before. And it does seem so un-American. It seems like it's almost like a Spanish racetrack. It's been carved out of a valley somewhere, and it's been done to kind of European racetrack standards, apart from the runoff in some areas, of course.
Well, that's standard for America, I can tell you that. They get the crowd as close as they possibly can to the action, to the circuit, and then they just separate it with a concrete wall to get them as close as they possibly can. That's standard for American circuits. But they looked to have a good crowd there, and everyone was saying, including the drivers, and you said yourself when you went over there early in the year and interviewed them, it was going to be difficult to overtake. We thought because of the aero, following close, you lose a lot of downforce. But I think it's because you can run 2 or 3 different lines. You notice then with Scott Dixon and Helio running very close together, Helio was taking a slightly wider line on entry, Scott was taking a hug in the apex in order to get front aero grip on the car. You can take 2 or 3 different lines to some of those corners, and that helped the racing and allow the overtaking, which again we saw from Mike Conway.
Well, I've got to say that Justin Wilson and Mike Conway were superb throughout today in overtaking. Didn't come away with the result perhaps they deserved, but we can go back then to Victory Lane, because there he is, the man himself, down in Victory Lane, I should say. Helio Castroneves has climbed a fence. Now he's got to explain exactly how he did it out in the race.
We just saluted Scott Dixon as the second place finisher. Not only that, but he wins our Firestone Pit Performer of the afternoon. The crew with a total time of 56.5 seconds. Good work, guys. And now, Izod salutes a winning performance with Izod Victory Lane. Here's Lindy with Helio.
And Elio with his 17th career win, you step up out of the car, you say, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby?" Is it any different as a dad?
I think so. I think so because I want her to share this moment with me, and I want it sooner than later. And she's certainly here. Incredible job for everyone. Team Penske did a hell of a job. So far we keep going and working together. Will definitely was the car to beat. But again, this place was about strategy, and we were able to learn a lot from St. Pete and Brazil and execute this today. So I'm so happy. This is unbelievable. Great for 2010. We're just starting. This is just fantastic. Well done, everyone. RP, guys in the shop, you guys did a hell of a job. Everybody working. Fantastic. Woo! Let's keep going.
You probably felt pretty comfortable once Marco had to pit, but once there was the caution, you were going to have to restart. How did you feel then?
The biggest challenge was you couldn't. First of all, I did have a car, but you can't pass because the turbulence here was so difficult, and you were just trying. You don't want to make a mistake either. So it was one of those things that. What do I do? What do I do? And I knew that I have to save fuel. I knew if being smart would pay off. Finally, for the first time, drivers normally they don't think. This is the first time I did it. So just want to say hello to Rick Reineman that is right there in the shop. He's part of this team. Buddy, well done too, man. You're part of this team. Woo!
And you go from 6th to 2nd in points. You catching up with your teammate Will now?
Oh, man. Wow, this is the good news. I didn't know that. Still a long way to go. Certainly... I take it, obviously. I take it every chip. We kind of like chip it away. But this group, hell of a job. This guy is incredible. They deserve it. Let's keep working. It's still a lot more to go.
And Indy's coming up, reigning champ there. Elio Castroneves, his first win as a dad. Robbie?
I'm feeling for Marco Andretti, just like I felt for Kyle Moyer out there while he's watching you go around the track. The yellows just never came out. How much was that killing you while you were at the wheel?
Well, I mean, yeah, kind of each time he just went longer than me, and that was the difference in the last stop. So he was able to go, that much more, and we fell a bit short. Would have been close with that last yellow, so a little disappointing.
Car-wise, everything looks like it may be coming together. You've been happy all week, and a good finish here nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be happy. I mean, to put this thing in the top 5 after our disaster on the road courses last year. So, we just keep marching forward.
Heading to Long Beach, you have anything to say to Tony? You still working, looking forward to next week as well here on Versus?
To Tony? No, yeah. I mean, we're working, the 4 of us together to keep trying to improve these race cars. I mean, we're still a little bit, off as far as pace goes. So, here, I was looking a bit stronger than maybe I would have anywhere else, just because it's tough to overtake. So it's easier for me to control the race. But oh well, on the Long Beach.
Tell me about that pass. Walk me through it. That was incredible.
Well, I knew I had to do it, before his tire temps came up. I knew all weekend we were stronger than them coming up to speed, so I knew I had to get it done early, so we just kind of went for it. I was on my push to pass. We were able to get off of turn 2 good, and made it happen.
Marco Andretti won at first, finished 5th here today. And it's his first top 5 since Watkins Glen last year, where he finished in 5th position. The race has been run. Elio Castroneves wins over Scott Dixon, and the final margin of victory, 57 hundredths of a second.
With me here in the studio, Johnny Molam and Christopher Tate. Well, you heard Elio talk about it wasn't an easy place to pass, but he obviously wasn't paying attention to Mike Conway, because Mike Conway passed just about everybody everywhere. Was a little unlucky with this call down in pit road, of course, at the end of the pit here with Will Power. We thought Mike Conway had got it, but Will Power had nudged it by half a wing, I think it was. Maybe a bit more.
Bearing in mind, obviously, as you rightly pointed out at the time, Keith, they're going out under yellow. If they'd been going out under green, and then again a beautiful pass around the outside, we talked about this, Briscoe giving him some room there, but that was good, strong, hard racing, and I'm sure that he'll respect Briscoe for that and pay the favour back later on in the season.
Yeah, but it didn't stop there, because Mike Conway was on it just about everywhere he possibly could be on this racetrack. One side of Milcaduno and the other. I mean, that is intuitive driving, isn't it?
That was my favourite of the afternoon.
Well, I don't know. My favourite was a little later on than that. We didn't get a chance to see it because unfortunately we didn't have it, but he managed somehow to make the pass.
He drives fired up. You can tell he's fired up, and that is a massive advantage. We saw exactly the same in St. Petersburg, if you remember. He was on a charge and passing in places that you couldn't really pass, and unfortunately, ultimately in St. Petersburg, it caught him out with Rafael Matos. but he drives like that. It's going to be awesome, but there are going to be times when he's going to have to temper that slightly in order to get a great result later in the season, I think.
It's actually a shame because he's driven really well today. He found himself with strategy at the beginning when they had that big shakeout in the first caution period of Takuma Sato.
He was quick. I mean, he qualified on the front row. His lap times were quick all day, and yet he finished 9th, I believe. So, you kind of try and work that out. How did that happen? And that just shows you how much strategy and saving fuel. And again, that goes back. He was driving flat out all the time, and I suspect at no point really was he trying to save fuel.
Do you know what I like the most about that? We're talking about Mike Conway. He had a great drive, fantastic, really exciting. Everyone would have been in on their feet. But Dario Franchitti is the Brit that still did the business. We didn't see or hear anything about him, and he finished
They didn't even interview him at the end.
No,
and yet he did an awesome race.
That's what I was about to say. What's really interesting about this is what turned out to be, including all the great overtaking, really a very strategic race, is it's the big two teams, the Penske's and the Ganassis, who once again take the top 4 slots. And it's just the way it goes because they really know what they're doing on the pit wall.
Slightly surprising for me was that Ryan Briscoe didn't feature a little bit more as well.
Maybe he just didn't like the track, or he clearly not got his car right, because the Power and Elio were just awesome all day.
Well, I mean, he still qualified reasonably well. He wasn't like miles off. So you're right. I was a bit surprised he didn't get fired up a little bit more in the race to really go for it. But it's kind of a quiet race for him by his standards, anyway.
I mean, Simona de Silvestro eventually blotted her copybook, but she's allowed that because she's been driving so well.
Yeah, she's been. I mean, been talking about her quite a bit, and she really is coming on. You listen to her crew chief there, and they obviously love her, and she was just coming on step by step. A little bit of a shame at the end, but very, very good drive all in.
Well, that was the inaugural race from the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. Let's go back now to the track and more.
And the Apex Brazil green flag is out. Here we go.
Oh, it's tight in the fountain. That's Kanan to his left.
Oh, that's tight right there. As well as
Will Power has lost the lead. Rafael Matos is leading. Something's wrong.
And EJ Viso. We have a major mess down in turn 11.
And check this out.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So that's on the front straightaway, guys, under yellow.
On his final lap is Dario Franchitti. Returning to the Indy cars this year, and Ashley Judd is about to celebrate with him in victory lane. The checkered flag waves for Dario. It's his 9th career win in the IndyCar Series.
So make a date to join us for coverage of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. It's live on Sunday from 9 p.m. on Sky Sports 4. Hope you can join us for that. But for now, from Christopher, Johnny, myself and the rest of the Sky Sports team, thanks for watching, and we will, of course, see you next week.
More sport, news, views and video highlights at skysports.com.